The moment Elena Mero realized the man she loved could kill without hesitation, she was already bleeding on a concrete floor with a gun against her skull. Ronan Vale, Sicily's most dangerous crime lord, stood 15 feet away, eyes dead as winter, calculating who would die first to save her. 3 years of grief had carved him hollow. One American woman with too much mouth and zero survival instinct had cracked him open again. Now enemies wanted her destroyed just to watch him break. This is the story of how spilled wine became bloodshed, and how two broken people learned that love in the underworld doesn't ask permission. It demands sacrifice. Stick with me until the end. Hit like, and drop a comment with your city so I can see how far this story travels. Rain came down like bullets on Palermo's cobblestone streets, turning the ancient city into a bruised watercolor bleeding into the Mediterranean night. Ronan Vale stepped through the side entrance of Osteria della Notte at exactly 9:47, same as he had every Thursday for the past 3 years. The restaurant owner, Giulio, saw him coming and already had the corner table cleared, the one with sight lines to both exits and the kitchen, the one nobody else would dare request, even if they didn't know who sat there weekly. Ronan's security detail peeled off at the door. 2 men stayed outside. 1 disappeared into the kitchen. The arrangement had become ritual, understood without words. Inside the dining room, conversations didn't stop when he entered because the kind of people who ate at Osteria della Notte had learned long ago that staring at predators got you killed. He was 43 and looked like violence had worn him down to essential parts. Tall, lean in the way wolves are lean, with salt threading through dark hair he kept short enough that nobody could grab it in a fight. His suit cost more than most Sicilians made in 6 months, tailored to hide the beretta he carried against his ribs. But it was his eyes that emptied rooms, flat gray, the color of cement, registering everything and revealing nothing. Giulio appeared with wine before Ronan sat down. Nero da Vola, the same bottle every week. Buonasera, signore. Ronan nodded. He didn't waste words on pleasantries. 3 years ago, his 15-year-old son Marco had been shot 12 times in a car meant for him. The boy had borrowed it to impress a girl. 12 bullets designed for a kingpin had torn through a child instead. Since that Tuesday afternoon, Ronan had spoken only when silence couldn't get the job done. The wine tasted like ashes. Everything did. He ate alone, methodically, watching the room with the detached attention of someone who'd survived 2 decades in Sicily's underworld by assuming every stranger carried a knife. Osteria della Notte served the kind of clientele that appreciated discretion: criminals, politicians, the occasional Vatican accountant moving money through offshore channels. Giulio ran it like a confessional. What happened inside stayed buried. Ronan was halfway through his secondo when the crash shattered the quiet. Glass exploded. Wine sprayed across his table like arterial blood, soaking the white tablecloth and spreading crimson. A tray clattered to the floor. And standing there, frozen in absolute horror, was a woman Ronan had never seen before. American. He clocked that immediately from her posture. Too open, too unguarded for Sicily. Mid-30s, maybe. Dark hair pulled back messy, white shirt soaked with the wine she'd just dumped across his table. Green eyes wide with the kind of shock that comes right before panic sets in. The entire restaurant held its breath. Giulio appeared like he'd teleported, already apologizing in rapid Italian, already reaching to pull the woman away. The kitchen door cracked open. Ronan's security was seconds from intervening, but Ronan just stared at her. Because she was looking directly at him, not at the spilled wine, not at the ruined tablecloth, not at Giulio frantically trying to salvage the situation. At him. And she wasn't flinching. Everyone in Sicily flinched when they met Ronan Vale's eyes. She started in English, then switched to broken Italian. Mi dispiace, I'm so sorry, the tray slipped, and her accent butchered every vowel. Giulio was still apologizing, trying to usher her away, but she stood there like her feet had grown roots, staring at Ronan with something that looked almost like defiance under the fear. You gonna say something? She asked finally, switching back to English. Or just keep staring like I'm a bug you're deciding whether to crush. The restaurant went from quiet to dead silent. Nobody talked to Ronan Vale like that. Nobody. Giulio looked ready to have a stroke. One of Ronan's men started moving from the kitchen. Ronan raised one hand. Stop! The movement was minimal. Barely a gesture, but everyone froze. Then he did something he hadn't done in 3 years. He almost smiled. Not quite, but close enough that it registered as something other than the flat effect he'd worn since Marco died. "You always this graceful?" His English carried traces of New York. He'd spent 5 years in Brooklyn running protection rackets before returning to Sicily. The woman blinked. Whatever she'd expected, it wasn't that. "Only on Thursdays," she shot back, and there was enough edge in her voice that Ronan realized the fear in her eyes was competing with anger. At herself, probably. "I've been doing this job 3 days. Guess I'm making an impression." "You could say that." Giulio finally found his voice. "Signore, please, I will comp your entire meal. This is unacceptable. Leave it." Ronan's eyes never left the woman. "She can clean it up." It wasn't a suggestion. Giulio hesitated, then nodded and disappeared. The woman stood there another moment, clearly running calculations behind those green eyes. Whether to argue, whether to apologize again, whether to just grab rags and pray this didn't get worse. She grabbed rags. Ronan watched her work. She moved with the jerky efficiency of someone who'd cleaned up her own messes most of her life. Not quite clumsy, but not graceful either. When she got close enough to soak up the wine puddled near his plate, he caught the scent of her, something citrus under the sharp tang of spilled alcohol, soap, and exhaustion. "What's your name?" he asked. She glanced up, wary. "Elena? Elena what? Does it matter?" "I like to know who ruins my dinner." "Marrow. Elena Marrow." She wrung out the rag hard enough that wine dripped through her fingers. "And for the record, the tray had a loose handle. This wasn't entirely my fault." "Nothing ever is," she bristled. "You always this charming?" "Only on Thursdays." That got him something closer to a real look. Sharp, assessing, the kind of look that said she was trying to figure out if he was dangerous or just an asshole. Probably both, her expression decided. Smart woman. She finished cleaning, gathered the soaked rags, and stood there another moment. Ronan expected her to leave. Instead, she met his eyes again. "You're him, aren't you?" she said quietly. "The guy everyone's terrified of. The one Giulio warned me about on day one. Don't talk to, don't look at, don't breathe near." Ronan tilted his head slightly. And yet I dumped wine on you." Something flickered across her face. Recklessness or exhaustion. Hard to tell. "So either you're going to kill me or fire me, or I don't work here, can't fire you." "Right, just kill me then." "You think I'd do it here, in Giulio's restaurant?" Ronan's voice stayed flat, but there was something underneath it now. "Messy. Bad for business." Elena laughed. Actually laughed, sharp and bitter. Comforting. Then she walked away before he could respond, disappearing through the kitchen door with her rags and ruined tray. Ronan sat there in the wreckage of his table, wine still dripping onto his lap, and felt something move in his chest that he'd thought died with Marco. Curiosity. He stayed through dessert he didn't eat, watching the kitchen door. Elena didn't come back out. When Ronan finally left, he pressed 300 euros into Giulio's hand. "The American, she works Thursdays?" Giulio looked uncomfortable. "Si, signore. Should I? Nothing. Just asking." But they both knew better. The following Thursday, Ronan arrived at 9:47. Elena was there, carrying plates with the careful concentration of someone expecting disaster. When she saw him sit at his usual table, her shoulders went tight, but she didn't drop anything. Progress. She avoided his section all night. Ronan drank his wine and pretended not to notice the way she kept glancing over, wary as a stray dog watching a man with food. At the end of the meal, when Giulio brought the check, Ronan said, "Send her over." "Signore?" "The American. Elena. Send her over." Giulio paled but obeyed. Elena approached like she was walking toward a firing squad, spine straight, chin up, fear and defiance in equal measure. When she reached his table, she crossed her arms. "If this is about last week, sit down." "I'm working." "Sit down." She hesitated, then pulled out the chair across from him, sat on the edge, ready to bolt. Up close, Ronan could see the shadows under her eyes, the way her fingers drummed against her leg, nervous energy looking for exits. "Why are you in Sicily?" he asked. Elena's jaw tightened. Why do you care? Curious. That's supposed to make me feel safe? Crime Lord gets curious? You know who I am. Everyone knows who you are. You're Ronan Vale. You run half of Palermo's underworld. People disappear when you're unhappy. She leaned forward slightly, and there was real heat in her voice now. So yeah, forgive me if being called to your table feels less like conversation and more like a prelude to concrete shoes. Ronan almost smiled again, twice in 2 weeks. A record. If I wanted you gone, you'd already be gone. I'm asking because you don't belong here. Where do I belong? Somewhere louder, brighter. America. Elena's laugh was harsh. America's got nothing for me. Had nothing for a while now. So you came to Sicily to wait tables? I came to Sicily because it was cheap and far away, and I was tired of everywhere else. Her eyes flashed. And I'm good at waiting tables when I'm not dumping wine on terrifying gangsters, so maybe drop the condescension. Silence stretched between them. Ronan studied her, really looked, saw the way her hand shook slightly even though her voice stayed steady, saw the worn edges of her shirt, the scuffed boots, saw someone running from something, maybe lots of somethings, trying to outpace whatever ghost chased her across an ocean. He knew that look, wore it himself most days. How long you been here? He asked finally. 6 weeks. You like it? Does anyone actually like Palermo? Or do they just survive it? Depends what you're looking for. Elena tilted her head, studying him back. What are you looking for, Mr. Vale? The question landed harder than she probably meant it to. Ronan didn't answer. Instead, he stood, dropped cash on the table, too much, like always, and buttoned his jacket. Enjoy your shift, Elena Marrow. He was halfway to the door when she called after him. That's it? Interrogate me, then walk away? Ronan paused, didn't turn around. See you next Thursday. It became a thing, not intentional, not planned. But the following Thursday, Ronan showed up at 9:47 and Elena was there. She didn't avoid his section this time. Brought his wine without being asked. Didn't say much, but she met his eyes when she poured. The week after, she lingered when she cleared his plates. You eat the same thing every time, she observed. Consistency. Or stubbornness. Same thing. She almost smiled. What happened to you that made consistency feel safer than variety? Ronan's expression went flat. We're not there yet. Where? Wherever people ask questions like that. Elena backed off, but he saw her filing the reaction away. Learning him, mapping boundaries, smart and reckless. Dangerous combination. By the 5th Thursday, she sat down at his table without being invited. Giulio's going to lose his mind, she said, pouring herself wine from his bottle. Giulio works for me. That stopped her. Wait, you own this place? Minority stake, enough that he looks the other way when I need privacy. Privacy for what? Meetings, deals, things that shouldn't happen in public. Elena set down her glass. Should I be worried? If I wanted you worried, you'd know. That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting tonight. She laughed, that same sharp, bitter sound. You're exhausting, you know that? So I've been told. They sat in silence for a while. Outside, rain hammered the windows. The restaurant was nearly empty now, just a few stragglers finishing dessert. Why do you keep coming back? Elena asked finally. Every Thursday, same table, same wine. You don't seem like you enjoy it. I don't. So why? Ronan looked at her, really looked. Tried to figure out what she wanted from this conversation, what angle she was working. But all he saw was genuine curiosity, maybe concern. When was the last time someone looked at him with concern? Penance, he said quietly. Elena frowned. For what? Things you don't want to hear about. Try me. Ronan stood. This was too much, too fast. He didn't talk about Marco, didn't talk about that Tuesday 3 years ago when his world ended in 12 bullets meant for him. But Elena stood too, blocking his path. Not aggressive, just present. I lost people too, she said. Parents. Car accident when I was 19. Spent the next 15 years bouncing between cities, jobs, relationships, anything to avoid staying still long enough to feel it. So if you think I can't handle whatever darkness you're carrying, you're wrong. Ronan stared at her. At the defiance in her eyes, the vulnerability she was offering like a weapon. "My son," he said, voice rough. 3 years ago. He died because of me. Elena didn't flinch, didn't offer empty comfort, just nodded once, understanding passing between them like electric current. "I'm sorry." 2 words. But she meant them. Ronan felt something crack open in his chest, something he'd kept sealed since Marco's funeral. "See you next Thursday," he managed. This time when he left, Elena didn't call after him, but she watched him go. The months that followed developed a rhythm neither of them acknowledged, but both maintained. Thursday nights. Same table, same wine, conversations that started surface level and slowly, inevitably, went deeper. Elena told him about growing up in Denver, losing her parents, drifting through Seattle, Austin, Miami, chasing something she could never name. Ronan told her about Marco, carefully at first, then with more detail as the weeks passed, about his son's laugh, his terrible taste in music, the way he'd wanted to be a chef, not a criminal. He would have been 18 this year, Ronan said one night in late autumn. Rain streaked the windows. Would have graduated, maybe gone to culinary school. "You ever think about getting out?" Elena asked. "Leaving the life, I mean." "Every day." "But you don't. Can't. Men like me don't retire. We just die slower or faster depending on luck." Elena leaned back, studying him. "That's bleak." "That's reality." "Reality's negotiable." Ronan almost laughed. "You believe that? I'm sitting here drinking wine with Sicily's most dangerous crime lord while I should be working. Yeah, I believe reality's pretty flexible." Something shifted in the air between them, an acknowledgement that this, whatever this was, had moved past coincidence into something deliberate. "You should be careful," Ronan said quietly. "Being seen with me. People notice. Let them notice." "Elena, I'm not scared of you, Ronan." She used his first name for the first time, and it sounded strange and right all at once. "Maybe I should be, but I'm not. You should be scared of what happens to people close to me. I'm not close to you." "Then what are you?" The question hung there unanswered. Elena stood, gathering his empty plates. But before she left, she leaned down close enough that he could smell citrus and wine. "I don't know yet," she whispered, "but I'm not running." Then she was gone, leaving Ronan alone with the wreckage of his defenses and the terrifying realization that for the first time since Marco died, he wanted something. He wanted her. The shift happened fast after that. Thursday dinners became walks through Palermo's rain-soaked streets. Elena showed him corners of the city he'd never bothered noticing. Street art hidden in alleys, tiny cafes that served coffee like religion, markets where old women sold vegetables and gossip in equal measure. Ronan showed her the Sicily tourists never saw. Private beaches, abandoned villas, overlooks where the Mediterranean stretched to infinity. They didn't talk about what they were doing, didn't label it. But when Ronan's hand brushed hers during a midnight walk through the Vucciria market, and she didn't pull away, they both knew. His security detail noticed, started maintaining wider perimeters. Giulio noticed, started seating them at more private tables. Half of Palermo's underworld noticed, and noticing, in their world, meant danger. The first threat came in the form of photographs. Someone had been following them. Shots of Elena leaving Ronan's villa at dawn. Shots of them walking together. Shots of her alone, vulnerable, exposed. The photos arrived at Ronan's office with no message, just the pictures and the implication. "We know where she is. We can reach her any time." Ronan stared at the photos for a long time, ice spreading through his veins. Then he made calls. Security appeared around Elena, invisible but present. Men in cars. Men in cafes. Men who looked like civilians but moved like soldiers. She didn't notice at first, Ronan made sure of that. But Elena Mero was too smart to stay blind forever. She cornered him 2 weeks later at his villa, shoving into his study with enough fury that his guards almost intervened. "Call them off," she demanded. Ronan looked up from paperwork. "Call who off?" "Your babysitters. The guys following me everywhere. The car that parks outside my apartment. All of it." "I don't know what you're talking about." "Bullshit!" Elena slammed her hands on his desk. "I'm not stupid, Ronan. I know what protection detail looks like, and I don't need it. Yes, you do. No, You've been seen with me. Ronan's voice went cold. That makes you a target. You don't get to decide if you need protection. I decide. Elena's eyes flashed. I'm not some fragile thing you get to lock in a tower. No, you're a woman who doesn't understand what my world does to people I care about. The admission hung between them. You care about me, Elena said, voice quieter now. Ronan stood moving around the desk. That's the problem. Since when is caring about someone a problem? Since Marco died because people wanted to hurt me. Elena flinched, but she didn't back down. I'm not your son, she said carefully. And I'm not leaving just because you're scared. You should, but I won't. They stared at each other. Outside, the Mediterranean crashed against rocks. Inside, something bigger than both of them built pressure. Ronan closed the distance between them. Elena didn't move. If you stay, he said, voice rough, you accept what comes with it. The protection, the danger. The fact that I will burn this city down if anyone touches you. Elena's breath hitched. That's supposed to scare me? Yes. It doesn't. Then she kissed him. It wasn't gentle, wasn't romantic. It was 3 months of tension and fear and wanting crashing together all at once. Ronan pulled her closer, and Elena kissed him like she was claiming something, declaring war on his self-imposed isolation. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Ronan pressed his forehead to hers. This is a mistake, he whispered. Probably. You should run. Stop telling me what to do. Elena, Shut up, Ronan. She kissed him again, softer this time. Just shut up and let this happen. So he did. They fell into each other like drowning people finding air. The villa filled with Elena's presence, her laughter, her music, her fierce arguments about everything from politics to pasta. Ronan found himself smiling more, sleeping better, wanting to come home instead of hiding in his office until dawn. But the underworld doesn't forget, doesn't forgive, doesn't allow happiness without demanding payment. The calls started 3 months after they became inseparable. Threats, warnings, anonymous messages reminding Ronan that love was weakness, that Elena made him vulnerable, that she would die screaming unless he backed down from territories, from deals, from power. He handled each one quietly, violently, permanently. But they kept coming. Elena noticed the change in him, the way he watched doorways again, calculating threats, the way conversations died when she entered rooms, the tension in his shoulders that never quite relaxed. Talk to me, she demanded one night. Nothing to talk about. Liar. Ronan poured wine, hand steady despite everything. Just business. Business that involves me? He didn't answer. Elena grabbed the wine bottle from his hand, forcing him to look at her. I'm not fragile, Ronan. Stop treating me like I'll break if you tell me the truth. The truth is that every day you're with me, you're in danger, and every day I don't send you away, I'm being selfish. Then be selfish, Elena's voice cracked. I'm choosing this, choosing you. Stop trying to make that choice for me. You don't understand what you're choosing. Then show me. Ronan looked at her. This impossible woman who'd crashed into his life carrying dirty dishes and no fear. Who'd stayed when everyone else ran. Who looked at him and saw a man, not a monster. Okay, he said quietly. He took her to a warehouse meeting 2 nights later, showed her the brutal negotiations, the threats exchanged like currency, the violence simmering under every handshake. Elena watched it all, pale but steady, and when one of Ronan's rivals made a veiled threat about pretty distractions, she didn't flinch. On the drive home, she was quiet. Say something, Ronan finally said. I'm processing. Processing what? That I'm exactly the monster everyone says? Elena turned to him. Processing how you managed to stay human in the middle of all that? It wasn't the response he expected. I'm not. You are. She touched his hand on the steering wheel. I saw it. The way you diffused instead of escalated. The way you protected your people. You're not a monster, Ronan. You're just a man doing terrible things to survive a terrible world. Something in Ronan's chest eased. Most people run after seeing that, he said. I'm not most people. No. He brought her hand to his lips. You're really not. They drove the rest of the way in comfortable silence. But comfort never lasted in Ronan Vale's world. The kidnapping happened on a Tuesday. Elena left the restaurant after her shift at midnight. Ronan's security detail was supposed to escort her home, but someone had been watching, planning, waiting for the 17-second window between the restaurant's back door and the car. 17 seconds. That's all it took. When Ronan's phone rang at 12:43, he knew before answering. We have her. The voice was Corsican accented, unfamiliar, professional. Where is she? Ronan's voice went dead flat. Safe. For now. We'll send proof of life in 1 hour. Instructions follow. The line went dead. Ronan stood in his study, phone still pressed to his ear, and felt the world narrow to a single point of absolute clarity. They had Elena, and he was going to burn Palermo to ash to get her back. The proof of life arrived at 1:43 a.m. A photo. Elena bound to a chair in some concrete room, duct tape across her mouth, eyes wide but defiant. No visible injuries yet. The timestamp showed it was taken 11 minutes ago. Ronan stared at the image on his phone screen until his vision blurred. His hands didn't shake. They'd gone past shaking into something colder, steadier. The part of him that had survived 2 decades in Sicily's underworld was taking over, shutting down everything human, everything that felt, everything that hesitated. His second-in-command, Luca Torino, burst through the study door without knocking. Short, compact, face like a hatchet, loyal since they were teenagers running protection rackets in Mondello. He'd seen Ronan survive 3 assassination attempts, 2 gang wars, and Marco's funeral, but he'd never seen this look in his boss's eyes. I've got men on every street from here to Trapani, Luca said. Every informant, every contact, everyone who owes us favors. They're all looking. Not enough. Ronan set the phone down with deliberate care. Pull everyone. Every soldier, every associate, everyone on payroll. I want Palermo locked down so tight a rat can't cross the street without us knowing. Ronan, if we pull everyone in, we leave the territories exposed. The Corsicans, the Calabrians, they'll see opportunity. Let them. Ronan's voice went quiet. Dangerous. Anyone moves on our territory tonight dies. Spread the word. Anyone harboring information about Elena's location dies. Anyone who saw something and stays silent dies. I want bodies, if that's what it takes. Luca hesitated. The police are paid to look the other way. But call Castellano anyway. Tell him I need favors. Tonight. He'll want yo. I don't care what he wants. Tell him if Elena Mero dies, his daughter doesn't make it to her graduation next week. Luca went pale. Boss, threatening a police captain's kid will get us access to traffic cameras, phone records, and patrol routes. Make the call. Luca nodded and pulled out his phone, stepping into the hallway. Ronan turned back to the photo, studied every detail. Concrete walls, industrial lighting, shadows suggesting high ceilings. Could be a warehouse, could be a dozen places in Palermo's industrial district. But the Corsicans were smart. They wouldn't use somewhere obvious. His phone buzzed. The instructions, text only, no voice. 20 million euros, transferred to accounts we'll provide. Plus your territories in the port district, all of them. You have 48 hours. She stays alive as long as you cooperate. Test us and we'll mail her back in pieces. Ronan read it 3 times, felt the trap closing. 20 million was manageable. Painful, but manageable. The port territories were worth twice that annually, but he could rebuild. What bothered him was the timeline. 48 hours meant they were either very confident or very desperate, and desperate kidnappers made mistakes that got hostages killed. Another text came through. No police, no military, no outside help. We're watching. Make a move we don't like. She dies. Ronan typed back. Proof she's alive. Not a photo. Video. Her speaking. Now. The response took 6 minutes. A video file. 20 seconds. Elena in the same chair, tape removed from her mouth. She looked directly at the camera. Ronan, don't eat, she started. Then someone off camera hit her. Her head snapped sideways, blood at the corner of her mouth. Don't give them anything. Do you hear me? Don't. The video cut off. Ronan played it again, watched the way she held herself even after being hit. Defiant, fierce, so absolutely Elena that something cracked in his chest. Then he played it a third time, ignoring her words, studying the background. Concrete walls, yes. But there, just for a second when the camera shifted, a window, barred, high up, and through it, a glimpse of something yellow. Crane, industrial crane. That narrowed it down. Maybe 15 locations in Palermo with that kind of equipment visible from a warehouse window. Luca returned. Castellano's cooperating. Says he can get us traffic cam footage from midnight to now, but it'll take a few hours. We don't have hours. Ronan stood, grabbing his jacket. Get the cars. Full crew. We're hitting every warehouse in the port district with crane access. That's at least 12 locations. I counted. We split into 4 teams, 3 locations each. Find her, or find someone who knows where she is. And if we're wrong, if they're not in the port district, Ronan checked the Beretta at his ribs, then pulled a second gun from his desk drawer. Then we expand the search. But we start where the evidence points. The Corsicans will know we're coming. They've probably got scouts. Good. Let them see. Let them know what happens when they touch what's mine. The convoy rolled out at 2:15 a.m. 12 vehicles, 38 men. Enough firepower to start a war. Ronan rode in the lead car with Luca driving and 2 of his best soldiers in the back. Marco's age, both of them. Young enough to still think they were immortal, old enough to know how to kill. First location is the old fish processing plant on Via Messina, Luca said, taking a corner too fast. Rain hammered the windshield. Been abandoned 3 years, perfect for... I know it. Ronan stared out at Palermo's dark streets. 2 a.m. and the city looked like a graveyard. Marco and I used to fish off the pier there when he was little, before everything got complicated. Luca said nothing. There was nothing to say. They hit the fish processing plant at 2:47, kicked in doors, swept through dark corridors that smelled like rot and salt water, found nothing but rats and rust. No Elena. No Corsicans. No evidence anyone had been there in months. Next location? Ronan ordered, already moving back to the cars. The second warehouse was an old shipping depot. Same result. Empty. Abandoned. Wrong. Third location was a converted factory near the water. Also empty. By 4 a.m., they'd cleared all 12 locations. Nothing. Ronan stood in the rain outside the last warehouse, phone pressed to his ear, while Luca coordinated with the other teams. All negative. No sign of Elena anywhere in the port district. We were wrong, Luca said quietly, approaching. The crane in the video, maybe it wasn't port equipment. Could be construction, could be... I know. Ronan's voice was flat. Dead. Expand the search. Construction sites. Any building in Palermo with crane access in the past 6 months. That's hundreds of locations. Then we need more men. We've already pulled everyone. There's no... Ronan grabbed Luca by the jacket, slamming him against the warehouse wall. Then we pull from outside. Call Naples. Call Catania. I don't care who we owe favors to after this. Get me more men. Luca nodded, eyes wide. Ronan released him and stepped back, breathing hard. Control. He needed control. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. Text. 12 warehouses in 4 hours, impressive. But you're looking in the wrong place. We're watching, Ronan. Every move. Stop the search or she pays for it. Another video arrived. Elena, same chair. But now her left eye was swelling shut, fresh blood on her shirt. Someone had worked her over while Ronan wasted 4 hours searching empty buildings. In the video, Elena looked at the camera with her one good eye. Stop, she said, voice rough. Ronan, just stop. Pay them. Give them what they want. I'm not worth... Someone off camera said something in Corsican. Elena's face went pale. He says you have 36 hours now, for wasting time. The video ended. Ronan stared at his phone, rain soaking through his jacket, and felt something fundamental shift inside him. The careful control he'd maintained for 3 years, the measured responses, the strategic thinking, the ability to separate emotion from business, cracked completely. They'd hurt her. Were still hurting her. And every second he spent playing detective was another second she suffered. Change of plans, he said quietly. Luca looked up from his phone. Boss, we're not searching anymore. We're negotiating. You're going to pay them. No. Ronan walked to the car. I'm going to make them think I'm paying them. And when they come to collect, we take them all. The message went out at 5 a.m. Ronan sent it himself, directly to the number that had been texting him. You win. I'll pay. 20 million euros plus the port territories. I need time to arrange the transfer. 24 hours. The response came back in minutes. 12 hours. Not a second more. Transfer instructions will follow. The territories get signed over in person. We'll send a location. Ronan showed the message to Luca. They're going to want to meet. Somewhere public enough that I can't just kill everyone, private enough that they control the space. It's a trap. Of course it's a trap. But it's also our only chance to find Elena before the deadline. Luca leaned against the car, exhaustion making him look older. What if they don't bring her? What if they keep her until after the money's transferred? Then we have a problem. Ronan lit a cigarette, first one in 3 years. His hands were steady now. Purpose had steadied them. But they'll bring her. They want me to see her, want me to know they won. Pride's going to make them sloppy. And if it doesn't, Ronan took a drag, smoke mixing with rain. Then a lot of people die, and we hope Elena's not one of them. The transfer instructions arrived at 7 a.m. A cryptocurrency wallet. 20 million euros converted and transferred by 3 p.m. Proof of transfer required before they disclosed the meeting location for signing over the territories. Ronan called his financial guy, a nervous accountant named Paolo, who handled the clean money operations. Can you do it? Ronan asked. Paolo's voice shook. The amount? Yes. The timeline? Barely. But Ronan, moving 20 million in cryptocurrency in 8 hours, it's going to trigger every financial watchdog system in Europe. Interpol, Europol, probably the FBI. I don't care about the FBI. If they freeze the accounts mid-transfer, they won't. This is Sicily. Everyone's paid to look the other way. Ronan ground out his cigarette. Just make it happen. Okay. I'll need access to the offshore accounts, the shell companies in Cyprus, and you have full access, whatever you need. Just get it done. Ronan hung up and turned to find Luca watching him. You're really going to pay them, Luca said. No. I'm going to look like I'm paying them. There's a difference. They'll verify the transfer, and they'll see 20 million euros hit their wallet. What they won't see is the backtrack I'm building in. Paolo's good at this. Money goes in, sits for exactly 90 seconds, then reroutes back through a chain of accounts. By the time they realize it's gone, we'll already have Elena. Luca whistled low. That's bold. Also completely insane. You have a better idea? No, but if this doesn't work, it has to work. At 9 a.m., Ronan's phone rang. Not a text. An actual call. He answered. Yes. The voice was Corsican accented, male, controlled. Signore Vale, I wanted to speak with you directly, man to man. Where is she? Safe. For now. I must say your cooperation has been impressive. Very professional. I don't care about professional. I want Elena back alive. And you'll have her, assuming the transfer completes successfully and you sign the territory agreements. Speaking of which, we'll meet at 3:30 p.m., location to follow after we confirm the money. I want to talk to her, now. She's sleeping. Wake her up. A pause. Then shuffling sounds. Elena's voice came on the line, groggy, pained. Ronan? I'm here. Are you hurt? I'm fine. Don't do whatever stupid thing you're planning. Just... Someone yanked the phone away. The Corsican came back on. She's alive. That's all you need to know. 3:30 p.m., Signore Val. Come alone or she dies. Come armed and she dies. Come with any tricks and she dies. Are we clear? Crystal. Good. We'll send the location once the money clears. The line went dead. Ronan sat in his study, listening to rain hammer the villa's windows, and planned murder. Luca returned at 10 a.m. with food. Ronan didn't eat, and coffee he drank mechanically. Paolo says the transfer is on schedule, Luca reported. Money should hit their account by 2:45. That gives us 45 minutes before the meet. Cutting it close. That's the point. Keep us scrambling, keep us reactive, smart. Ronan nodded. What about our people? Are they ready? Everyone's standing by. The second we get a location, we can have teams moving. But Ronan, if they really want you alone, if they've got scouts watching the meet, they will. Then how do we provide backup without them seeing? We don't. Ronan finished his coffee. I go in alone. You and the teams stay a mile out, ready to move the second I confirm Elena's location. And if something goes wrong before you confirm, then you come in anyway and hope you're not too late. Luca shook his head. This is suicide. Probably. Marco wouldn't want... Don't. Ronan's voice went sharp. Don't use my son to talk me out of this. I'm just saying. I know what you're saying, and I don't care. Elena's alive because of me, in danger because of me. I'm not letting her die like Marco did. Luca fell silent. They spent the next hours preparing. Ronan stripped out of his jacket and checked both guns, the Beretta at his ribs and a smaller Glock at his ankle. Knife in his boot, phone in his pocket with a live connection to Luca. No vest. They'd check for that. At 2 p.m., he stood in front of the mirror in his bedroom and barely recognized himself. He looked like he had 3 years ago, right after Marco died. Hollow. Dangerous. A man with nothing left to lose. His phone buzzed at 2:47. Paolo? Transfer complete. 20 million confirmed in their account. Backtrack sequence initiated. You have 90 seconds before it starts pulling back. 3 minutes later, another text arrived from the Corsicans. Money received. Meeting location, abandoned cannery on Via del Mare. 3:30. Come alone. Ronan showed the address to Luca, who pulled it up on a map. Industrial waterfront, Luca said. Multiple exits, open sight lines, right on the water. Good defensive position for them. Bad for us. Doesn't matter. It's where Elena is. We'll be 3 minutes out, staged at the old rail yard. Ronan nodded and headed for the door. Luca caught his arm. Boss, if this goes wrong, if they kill you, what do you want us to do? Ronan looked at him. 20 years of friendship in that look. 20 years of violence and loyalty and blood. Burn it all down, he said quietly. Every Corsican in Sicily, every associate, every sympathizer, everyone who knew about this and stayed quiet. I want their world ash by sunrise. Done. They clasped hands briefly, then Ronan walked out to the car. The drive to Via del Mare took 18 minutes. Rain had stopped, but the streets were still slick, reflecting yellow streetlights like wounds. Palermo felt empty. Waiting. Ronan parked 3 blocks from the cannery and walked the rest. No security detail, no backup. Just him and the guns he carried, and the certainty that one way or another, this ended today. The cannery loomed against the gray sky, 3 stories of rusted metal and broken windows, chain-link fence half collapsed, weeds growing through cracked concrete. The kind of place where things died and nobody noticed. Ronan checked his phone. 3:28, 2 minutes early. He walked through this gap in the fence, crossed the weed-choked lot, and pushed through the cannery's main entrance. Inside was darkness and industrial decay. Machinery stripped for parts, concrete floors stained with rust and oil, high ceilings disappearing into shadow. And in the center of the space, illuminated by a single work light, Elena, still bound to the chair, face bruised, lip split, left eye swollen, completely shut now, but alive, breathing, looking at him with her one good eye like she wanted to kill him for coming. Ronan took 3 steps toward her before the voice stopped him. That's far enough. Lights snapped on, harsh industrial floods that turned the cannery bright as day. Ronan counted fast, 9 men, all armed, spread in a loose semicircle around Elena, professional positions, military training showing. The man who'd called him stepped forward. 50-something, gray hair, expensive suit that looked wrong in this place. Corsican boss named Matteo Santini. Ronan knew him by reputation, ruthless, smart, ambitious. Signore Vale, Santini said, almost friendly. Thank you for coming. And alone, as requested. Very professional. Let her go. In time. First, we have business. The transfer completed successfully. Thank you for that. Now we need signatures on the territory agreements. He gestured to a table Ronan hadn't noticed. Papers spread across it. Sign, and your Elena walks free. Ronan looked at Elena. She was shaking her head slightly. Don't do it. Let me see her first, Ronan said. Make sure she's okay. Santini considered, then nodded. A reasonable request. He gestured. One of his men cut the ropes binding Elena to the chair. She stood unsteadily, and Ronan moved forward. Pain exploded across his back. Someone had hit him with something heavy. Ronan went down hard, tasting blood, and before he could recover, 3 men were on him, hands pinning his arms, someone taking his guns. Did you think we were stupid? Santini's voice closer now. Did you think we wouldn't check the transfer carefully? Your little backtrack scheme, very clever, almost worked. But my financial people are good too. They caught it. 20 million euros that was about to vanish in... He checked his watch. 43 seconds. Ronan tried to move, got a boot in his ribs for the effort. So here's what's going to happen, Santini continued. You're going to call your accountant and cancel the backtrack, transfer that money permanently, and then you're going to sign over the territories. And then, if I'm feeling generous, I'll let you watch Elena die before I kill you too. Through the pain, Ronan met Elena's eyes. She was still standing, one of Santini's men holding her arm, bruised, bleeding, terrified, but not broken. She mouthed 2 words. Fight back, Ronan smiled, tasted blood. No, he said to Santini. No? You want the money permanent? The territories signed over? Ronan spit blood onto the concrete. Earn it. Santini's expression went cold. Last chance, Signore Val. Go to hell. Santini nodded to one of his men. The man pulled a gun, walked to Elena, pressed it against her head. Elena closed her good eye. Ronan tensed, calculating distances. 3 men holding him, 6 more spread around the room, 10 meters to Elena. Impossible odds. But he'd survived impossible before. Wait, Ronan said. Santini raised his hand. The gunman hesitated. I'll do it, Ronan continued. Cancel the backtrack. Sign the papers. Just don't hurt her. Santini smiled. I thought you might see reason. Though I'm disappointed, expected more fight from Sicily's greatest kingpin. You got what you wanted. Almost. First the call to your accountant. They hauled Ronan to his feet. Someone shoved his phone into his hand. He dialed Paolo with shaking fingers. Cancel the backtrack, he said when Paolo answered. Make the transfer permanent. But boss, do it. A pause. Then Paolo's defeated voice. Done. The money's theirs. Ronan hung up. Santini verified on his own phone, then nodded, satisfied. Excellent. Now the signatures. They dragged Ronan to the table, shoved a pen in his hand. He signed where they indicated. 3 documents transferring control of every port territory he owned. Years of work, millions in revenue. Gone. Worth it if Elena lived. When the last signature dried, Santini collected the papers carefully. Thank you, Signore Vale. This has been very productive. Let her go. We had a deal. We did. And I'm a man of my word. Santini gestured to the man holding Elena. Let her go. The man released her arm. Elena took 1 step toward Ronan. Then Santini shot her. The sound was massive in the enclosed space. Elena went down hard, clutching her stomach, blood spreading across her shirt. Ronan screamed, a sound he didn't recognize from his own throat. He lunged toward her, but the men holding him slammed him back down. You said... Ronan choked on blood and rage. You said... I said I'd let her go. I did. Santini looked at Elena bleeding on the concrete. Never promised she'd live. That was your assumption. Elena was still conscious, gasping, trying to put pressure on the wound. Her good eye found Ronan's. Run, she whispered. Touching, Santini said, but no one's running. You're both dying here, slowly, if you're lucky. This cannery makes for a fine tomb. He turned to his men. Finish it. Make it hurt. That's when the lights went out. All of them. Every industrial flood cutting at once, plunging the cannery into absolute darkness. Ronan moved on instinct, jerked hard to the left, broke the grip of the man holding his right arm. Someone grabbed for him in the dark. He drove his elbow back, felt it connect with face. The man screamed. Gunfire erupted. Muzzle flashes lit the darkness in stuttering bursts. Concrete exploded where Ronan had been standing seconds ago. He dropped flat, crawling toward where Elena had fallen. More gunfire, shouting in Corsican. Someone was screaming about the lights. Ronan's hand found Elena in the dark. She was still alive, still breathing, warm blood soaking his fingers. "Hold on," he whispered. "Just hold on." The gunfire intensified, but now it was coming from new directions, the windows, the doors, outside. Luca and the teams had arrived. The next 2 minutes were chaos and violence in the dark. Ronan felt more than saw the firefight, sound and muzzle flash, and the wet sounds of bullets finding flesh. He stayed low, covering Elena's body with his, waiting. Then flashlights cut through the darkness. Luca's voice. "Boss? Boss, where are you?" "Here," Ronan called. "Elena's hit. I need medical now." Footsteps running, lights swinging toward them. Luca appeared, followed by 3 men carrying first aid kits. "How bad?" Luca asked, kneeling beside Elena. One of the medics, former army, knew his business, checked Elena's wound quickly. "Gut shot. Bleeding bad, but might have missed major organs. We need to move her now." "Do it." They lifted Elena as gently as possible. She screamed anyway. Ronan took her hand. "Stay with me," he said. "Elena, look at me. Stay with me." Her good eye opened, focused on his face. "You came," she whispered. "Always. The territories, you gave them. Don't care. Nothing matters but you." She tried to smile, failed. "Idiot." Then her eye closed and she went limp. "Move!" the medic shouted. "We're losing her." They ran for the exit. Behind them, the cannery was a war zone. Bodies everywhere, Santini's men dead or dying. Ronan saw Santini himself on the ground, gut shot, gasping like a fish. He almost kept walking. Almost. But he stopped, turned back, walked to where Santini was bleeding out. The Corsican looked up at him, fear in his eyes now. "The money," Ronan said quietly. "I want the accounts. Every number, every password, where the 20 million went." Santini tried to laugh, coughed blood instead. "Go to—" Ronan put his boot on the gut wound, pressed down. Santini screamed. "The accounts," Ronan repeated. "Now, or you die slow." It took 30 seconds before Santini broke, gasped out the information between screams. Ronan memorized every detail. Then he put a bullet between Santini's eyes and walked out of the cannery without looking back. They made it to the hospital at 4:17 p.m. Elena went straight into emergency surgery. Ronan sat in the waiting room, covered in her blood, and felt time stop. Luca appeared with clean clothes. "Boss, you need to change. Police are going to ask questions." "Let them ask. We handled the scene, made it look like a gang conflict. No connection to you or Elena, but you can't be seen like this." Ronan looked down at his hands. Elena's blood under his fingernails, on his shirt, in the creases of his palms. He'd killed 16 people tonight, maybe more. Lost count in the dark. And he'd do it again. Do it 1,000 times, if she lived. The surgeon came out at 6:43 p.m. Older woman, exhausted, still in scrubs. "She's stable," the surgeon said. "Bullet missed the major organs but caused significant internal bleeding. We repaired what we could. Next 24 hours are critical." "Can I see her?" "She's in recovery, unconscious, but yes, 5 minutes." They led him to a private room. Elena looked small in the hospital bed, tubes and monitors everywhere. But her chest was rising and falling, breathing, alive. Ronan sat beside her and took her hand carefully, avoiding the IV line. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I'm so sorry. This was my fault. All of it." Elena didn't answer, couldn't answer, but her hand twitched slightly in his, and Ronan sat there in the dark hospital room, holding the hand of the woman who'd crashed into his life, carrying dirty dishes and spilled wine, and made a promise. If she survived this, when she survived this, he was getting out. No more territories, no more deals, no more violence. They'd leave Sicily, disappear. Start over somewhere nobody knew the name Ronan Vale. He'd give her the normal life she deserved. If she lived. If! The word hung in the air like a death sentence as monitors beeped and rain started falling again outside, and Ronan realized that despite everything, despite the money, the territory, the power, he was completely helpless. Elena's life was in hands other than his now. All he could do was wait and pray to things he'd stopped believing in 3 years ago. The night stretched on forever, and Ronan didn't move from her side, didn't let go of her hand, didn't think about the 16 bodies he'd left behind, or the empire he'd just lost. He thought only about the moment she'd mouthed "fight back" while a gun pressed against her head. The moment she'd chosen to be fierce instead of afraid. The moment that proved she belonged in his world, not because she was like him, but because she was braver than him. And sitting there in the dark, listening to machines keep Elena alive, Ronan finally understood what his son had tried to tell him years ago, before bullets meant for a kingpin had stolen a boy's future. Love wasn't weakness. Fear was. And he was done being afraid. At 7:15 a.m., 23 hours after Elena had been kidnapped, her eye finally opened, focused on his face. "Ronan?" His throat closed. He couldn't speak, just nodded. "You look terrible," she whispered. He laughed. Actually laughed. "You got shot and you're worried about how I look?" "Always." She squeezed his hand weakly. "The territories? Gone. Don't care. The money? I'll get it back. Don't care about that either. Santini? Dead. Do care about that." Elena closed her eye. "Good." Elena, shh, tired. "I know, but I need to say something first." Ronan leaned closer. "When you're better, when you're healed, we're leaving. Sicily, the business, all of it. We're getting out." Her eye opened again. "You mean that?" "Every word." "Where would we go?" "Anywhere you want, as long as it's far from here." Elena smiled, winced from the pain it caused. "Okay. Okay? Okay, Kate." She squeezed his hand again. "But Ronan?" "Yeah?" "Next time someone points a gun at my head, don't negotiate. Just shoot them first." He stared at her. This impossible woman. This fierce, reckless, perfect disaster who'd survived a gut shot and was already making jokes. "Deal," he whispered. Then Elena closed her eye and drifted back to sleep, and Ronan sat there holding her hand as morning light crept through the hospital windows. And for the first time in 3 years, he believed tomorrow might actually come. Elena spent 6 days in the hospital before the doctors cleared her to leave. 6 days of surgical drains and morphine fog and physical therapy that made her scream into pillows. Ronan stayed the entire time, sleeping in the chair beside her bed when he slept at all, which wasn't often. Luca brought clothes, food, updates on the business that Ronan barely listened to. The empire could burn. He didn't care anymore. On the 7th day, they released her with 43 staples holding her abdomen together and prescriptions for pain management that came with stern warnings about addiction. Elena signed the discharge papers with her left hand because her right was still too weak to grip the pen properly. Ronan had a car waiting, not the armored sedan he usually traveled in, something civilian, nondescript, the kind of vehicle people didn't look at twice. "Where are we going?" Elena asked as Luca helped her into the passenger seat. Every movement hurt. The morphine helped but didn't eliminate the sensation of her insides being held together with medical staples and prayer. "Somewhere safe," Ronan said, sliding behind the wheel. "Your villa's not safe?" "My villa's a target. Everyone knows it. We need distance while you heal." He drove them north, out of Palermo proper, into the hills where wealthy Sicilians kept summer houses and foreign investors bought ruins they'd never renovate. The safe house was actually a renovated farmhouse, whitewashed stone hidden behind cypress trees, with sight lines for miles and only one road in. Luca had already stocked it. Food in the refrigerator, medical supplies in the bathroom, clean clothes in the bedroom, and enough weapons hidden throughout the house that Ronan could fight a small war if necessary. "How long are we staying?" Elena asked, lowering herself onto the couch with movements careful as prayer. "As long as it takes." "For what?" "For you to heal, for me to clean up the mess, for us to actually leave like I promised." Elena studied his face. He looked worse than she'd ever seen him, hollow-eyed, gray at the temples where he'd been just salt and pepper a week ago, like he'd aged 5 years and 6 days. "You really mean it," she said. "The leaving. Every word. What about the business, the territories? You just lost the entire port district." "I'll get it back." Ronan sat beside her, careful not to jostle her injury. Paolo managed to reverse the cryptocurrency transfer. Took 3 days of digital warfare, but he pulled the 20 million back through a loophole in the transaction protocol. It's sitting in a frozen account right now. And Santini's people? Dead or scattered. Luca handled it. The Corsicans who survived the cannery have either fled Sicily or sworn allegiance. There's no organized resistance left. So you won. Ronan laughed bitterly. Won. Right. I lost my port territories, nearly got you killed, and burned through a decade of goodwill with every contact I have. Some victory. Elena took his hand. I'm alive. That's victory enough. He looked at her then, really looked, saw the bruises fading to yellow-green, the stitches holding her lip together, the haunted quality in her eyes that hadn't been there before the cannery. I'm getting you out, he said quietly. I promised. 2 months, maybe 3. Long enough for you to heal, for me to transition the business to Luca, for us to disappear properly. Where? Wherever you want. Argentina, Portugal, New Zealand, anywhere far from Sicily and the people who want me dead. Elena smiled despite the pain it caused. New Zealand sounds nice. Do they have wine? The best? Then that's where we'll go. They spent the next 3 weeks in the farmhouse. Elena healing slowly, Ronan managing the empire remotely through encrypted calls and Luca's daily visits. It was almost peaceful, almost normal. Mornings drinking coffee on the terrace, afternoons reading or watching Elena do physical therapy. Evenings cooking simple meals and pretending they were just 2 people who'd chosen each other instead of 2 people trying to survive each other's worlds. But normal was an illusion in Ronan Vale's life. The first sign came on day 19. Luca arrived looking wrong, tense, the kind of tension that came before bad news. What is it? Ronan asked before Luca even got through the door. We need to talk, private. They stepped outside. Elena watched through the window, concern etched across her face. Tell me, Ronan said. Luca pulled out his phone, showed Ronan a series of photos, bank statements, transaction records, communications logs. Ronan studied them, felt ice spread through his chest. Where did you get these? One of Santini's men. We picked him up trying to leave Sicily. He was carrying insurance, claimed he'd trade it for his life. And did you? No. But I looked at what he had first. Luca's voice was careful, measured. Boss, there's a problem. Show me. Luca scrolled through more images. Communications between Santini and someone inside Ronan's organization. Dated back months. Details about Elena, about Ronan's schedule, about security protocols. Someone had been feeding Santini information. Someone close. Who? Ronan's voice went flat. The communications are coded, but the routing suggests someone with high-level access. Someone who knew Elena's routines. Someone who... Luca hesitated. Say it. Someone who was at Osteria della Notte. Regularly. Ronan's mind raced through possibilities. His inner circle was small by design. Luca, Paolo the accountant, his personal security team, Giulio, who ran the restaurant. Giulio? Ronan asked. Maybe. Or someone who worked there. Realization hit like a bullet. The staff. Someone Elena worked with. Or someone who got close to her because of you. Ronan grabbed the phone, scrolled through the communications again, looking for patterns, for tells, for anything that would narrow it down. Then he saw it. A message dated 3 days before Elena's kidnapping, detailed information about her Thursday night shift, what time she left, what route she took home, where the security gaps were. The kind of information only someone watching her very closely would know, someone she trusted. I need names, Ronan said. Everyone who worked at the restaurant in the past 6 months. Everyone Elena might have talked to. Everyone. Boss, now Luca. Luca made calls. Ronan paced the terrace, mind churning. Elena appeared in the doorway. What's wrong? She asked. Nothing. Go back inside. Don't lie to me. I can see it on your face. Ronan turned to her, saw the fear starting to build behind her eyes. The understanding that whatever peace they'd found in this farmhouse was about to shatter. There was an informant, he said. Someone close to you. They fed information to Santini about your schedule, your movements. That's how the Corsicans knew exactly when and where to take you. Elena went pale. Who? I don't know yet, but I'm going to find out. Luca returned with a tablet, pulled up employee records from Osteria della Notte. 12 people worked there during Elena's time, Luca said. Giulio, 3 cooks, 2 dishwashers, 5 servers counting Elena, and a bookkeeper who came in twice weekly. Cross-referenced them against Santini's known associates. Luca worked the tablet. Ronan watched Elena lean against the doorframe, clearly exhausted from just standing. Guilt twisted in his gut. She should be resting, not dealing with this. Got something, Luca said. One of the servers, Maria Vitale. Sister married to a Corsican soldier. Low level but connected. Ronan remembered Maria, young, early 20s, friendly. She'd trained Elena during her first week. Where's she now? Ronan asked. Haven't seen her since the kidnapping. Disappeared the same night. Find her. Already on it. But boss, if she's with the Corsicans, if she's under protection, I don't care, find her. Luca nodded and stepped away to make more calls. Elena moved to Ronan's side. Maria, I remember her. She was nice. Helped me learn the menu. Warned me about difficult customers. She was watching you, reporting everything to Santini. You don't know that for sure. Who else had that access? Who else knew your exact routine? Ronan's voice was rising. He forced it back down. She betrayed you. Set you up to be taken. Elena flinched. Why? What did I ever do to her? Nothing. But you were close to me. That made you valuable. Leverage. So she just... what? Befriended me to gather intel? Probably. Ronan pulled Elena close, careful of her stitches. I'm sorry. I should have vetted everyone around you. Should have protected you better. This isn't your fault. Yes, it is. Everything is. They stood there holding each other while Luca made calls and the sun tracked across the Sicilian sky and the illusion of peace crumbled completely. 3 hours later, Luca found Maria Vitale. She was hiding in a small apartment in Cefalù, 30 miles up the coast. No Corsican protection. No security at all. Just a scared woman who'd made terrible choices and was now praying no one would find her. Prayer didn't help. Ronan and Luca took 2 men and made the drive in 40 minutes. Left Elena at the farmhouse with strict orders to stay inside and keep the guns close. Maria's apartment was on the 3rd floor of a crumbling building near the water. No elevator, narrow stairs, 1 exit. They went up fast and quiet. Luca picked the lock. They pushed inside. Maria was sitting at a small kitchen table, smoking a cigarette with hands that shook so badly she could barely bring it to her lips. She looked up when they entered, saw Ronan, went white as chalk. Signore Val, I can explain. Start talking. Maria stubbed out the cigarette. Immediately lit another. It was just supposed to be information, that's all. Santini approached me 6 months ago, offered money, good money. All I had to do was watch Elena, report her movements. Why? He knew she was important to you, wanted leverage. I didn't know they were going to take her. I swear, I thought it was just surveillance. Ronan moved closer. Maria shrank back in her chair. You reported her schedule the night she was kidnapped, Ronan said quietly. Every detail. What time she left work. What route she took. Where my security had gaps. That wasn't passive surveillance. I was just doing what they paid me for. People died because of you. Elena almost died. Maria started crying. I'm sorry, I needed the money. My sister's husband said it was safe, said no one would get hurt. Just information, that's all. Where's your sister now? Dead. The cannery. She was there with Santini. Good, Ronan thought, but didn't say. Luca shifted beside him, waiting for orders. Who else was involved? Ronan asked. No one. Just me, I swear. Did you tell anyone else about Elena? Any other families or organizations? No, only Santini, only the Corsicans. Ronan studied her, looking for lies, for deception, but all he saw was a terrified woman who'd gambled with other people's lives and lost. Please, Maria whispered, I made a mistake. I'll leave Sicily. You'll never see me again. Just please... Ronan pulled his gun. Maria screamed. Boss, Luca said carefully, she's not a threat anymore. The Corsicans are gone. Killing her doesn't... Doesn't what? Bring Elena back to health? Undo the trauma? Ronan's hand was steady. No shaking, just cold certainty. She put Elena in that cannery, put a gun to her head, got her shot. It was Santini who shot her, because of information this woman provided. Luca said nothing. Ronan stared at Maria, saw her crying, begging, saw Marco's face, Elena's face, everyone he'd failed to protect because he'd trusted the wrong people. He could pull the trigger, end it, one bullet, simple, clean. But when he looked at Maria, he didn't see a mastermind, didn't see evil, just saw desperation, stupidity. A young woman who'd made a catastrophic choice for money she probably needed. Killing her wouldn't change anything, wouldn't heal Elena, wouldn't bring Marco back, wouldn't make Ronan feel less empty. He lowered the gun. "You're leaving Sicily," he said. "Tonight. Luca will put you on a boat to Tunisia. You'll stay there. If I ever hear you've come back, if you ever contact anyone in my organization, if you ever speak Elena's name again, I won't hesitate next time." Maria nodded frantically. "Yes, yes, thank you. Thank you?" "Shut up." Ronan holstered the gun, turned to Luca. "Get her out of here. I don't want to see her face again." They left Maria sobbing at her kitchen table and walked back down to the car. Luca was quiet until they were on the highway heading south. "That was the right call," Luca said finally. "Doesn't feel like it. Killing her would have felt worse. Maybe." Ronan wasn't sure anymore. 3 years ago, before Marco died, he would have handled it differently. 5 years ago, he would have killed her without hesitation. But now, after Elena, after trying to be something other than a monster, he'd hesitated. Was that growth or weakness? He didn't know. They got back to the farmhouse at sunset. Elena was on the terrace, watching the horizon. She turned when she heard the car. "Did you find her?" Elena asked. "Yes." "And?" She confessed, admitted everything. It was her. Just her and the Corsicans. Elena nodded slowly. "Where is she now?" "Leaving Sicily. Tonight. You'll never see her again." "You didn't kill her." It wasn't a question. "No," Ronan said. Elena studied his face. "Why not?" "Because you're trying to make me better, and better men don't execute people who aren't threats anymore." Elena moved to him, wrapped her arms around him despite the pain it caused her abdomen. "Thank you." "For what?" "For trying." They stood there as the sun set over the Sicilian hills, and Ronan almost believed they might actually make it, might actually get out, might actually build something that didn't end in blood. Almost. The call came at 3 a.m., Ronan's phone vibrating on the nightstand. He grabbed it before it could wake Elena, saw Paolo's name on the screen. "This better be important," Ronan said, stepping into the hallway. "The money," Paolo's voice was shaking. "The 20 million we recovered from Santini." "What about it?" "It's gone." Ronan went still. "What do you mean, gone?" "Someone accessed the frozen account, used credentials I didn't authorize, transferred everything out 3 hours ago. By the time the security protocols flagged it, the money was already moving through offshore chains. I can't track it, can't stop it. It's just gone. How is that possible? That account had triple encryption, military-grade security. Someone had access codes. The real ones. Not hacked. Actual authorized credentials." "Whose credentials?" Paolo was silent for a long moment. "Paolo, whose credentials?" "Yours, boss. The transfer was authorized using your security codes, your biometric verification, your authority." Ice flooded Ronan's veins. "I didn't authorize anything." "I know. But whoever did had everything they needed to perfectly impersonate your authorization, which means someone inside has access to my security protocols. Not just access, complete access, the kind of access only 2 people have." Ronan's mind raced. Only 2 people had full access to his security systems, himself and Luca, he whispered. "I don't want to believe it either," Paolo said, "but the timing fits. The credentials match. And boss, there's more." "More?" "I dug into the transaction history, the offshore chains the money went through. They terminated accounts in the Cayman Islands. Accounts opened 8 months ago under a shell corporation." "So?" "So I traced the shell corporation's registration. It's owned by a trust. The trust beneficiary is—" Paolo's voice broke. It's Marco's name, your son's name. Ronan stopped breathing. That's impossible. Marco's been dead 3 years. I know, but someone used his identity, his social security number, his birth certificate. They created an entire financial structure using your son's name. Who? The trust administrator is listed as Luca Torino. The phone slipped from Ronan's hand, clattered on the tile floor. Luca, his best friend, his right hand. The man who'd stood beside him at Marco's funeral and sworn to protect what remained of Ronan's family. Luca had been stealing from him, using his dead son's identity. For how long? Ronan picked up the phone with numb fingers. Are you certain? I've triple-checked everything. Boss, I'm so sorry, but yes, I'm certain. Don't tell anyone, especially not Luca. What are you going to do? I don't know yet. Ronan hung up, stood in the dark hallway with his world collapsing around him. Luca had access to everything. Security protocols, financial accounts, personnel files, Elena's schedule, everything, which meant no, 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 no. Ronan pulled up his phone's call history, scrolled back to the kidnapping, looked at who he'd called first when Elena disappeared. Luca, who'd been there within minutes, who'd organized the search, who'd coordinated the response, who'd known exactly how to waste Ronan's time searching empty warehouses while Elena was being tortured. Who'd known Elena would be at the cannery because he'd probably told Santini where to take her. Who'd been playing both sides, feeding information to the Corsicans while pretending to help Ronan, stealing money while pretending to be loyal, using Marco's name, using his dead son's identity as a weapon. Ronan's vision went red. He walked back into the bedroom. Elena was still sleeping, curled on her side, healing. Beautiful. Alive. Because Luca had allowed her to survive. Why? If Luca was working with Santini, why let Elena live? Why help rescue her? Unless keeping Elena alive served a purpose. Kept Ronan stable. Kept him focused on her instead of looking too closely at his own organization. Kept him weak. The thought made Ronan sick. He grabbed his gun from the nightstand, checked the magazine. 17 rounds. Enough. He was halfway to the door when Elena's voice stopped him. Ronan? He turned. She was sitting up, wincing from the movement. Where are you going? She asked. Out. Go back to sleep. With a gun? At 3 a.m.? Elena's eyes were clearing. What happened? Nothing, just business. Don't lie to me. Ronan stared at her, saw the fear blooming in her expression, the understanding that whatever had woken him was bad, catastrophically bad. He couldn't lie to her. Not anymore. It was Luca, he said quietly. This whole time, the kidnapping, the money, everything, it was Luca. Elena went pale. What? Ronan explained. The stolen money, the offshore accounts, Marco's name being used, the timing that fit too perfectly. When he finished, Elena was crying. He set me up, she whispered. He helped them take me. She looked at Ronan. Where is he now? I don't know, but I'm going to find him. And then what? Then I'm going to kill him. Elena flinched. Ronan, he used my son's name, Marco's name. He stole from me. He put you in that cannery. Ronan's voice cracked. 20 years. 20 years I trusted him, and he betrayed everything. Maybe there's an explanation. There's no explanation good enough. Then at least wait until morning. Don't go rushing off in the middle of the night when you're angry. I'm past angry, Elena. Ronan didn't have words for what he was. Rage didn't cover it. Neither did betrayal. This was something deeper. Something that felt like his soul tearing in half. Elena stood, moving slowly, and came to him. Put her hands on his face. I understand, she said. I do. But if you go now, like this, you'll do something you can't take back. And then you'll be exactly what everyone thinks you are. Just another killer. Maybe that's all I've ever been. No. You're the man who spared Maria tonight, who chose mercy, who promised to leave this life behind. She kissed him softly. Don't let Luca destroy that. Don't let him turn you back into the monster. Ronan closed his eyes, felt her hands on his face, felt the weight of the gun in his hand. felt the choice splitting him in two. Be the man Elena believed he could be, or be the man who'd survived Sicily for 20 years. He couldn't be both. I need to think, he said finally. Then think here, with me. Don't go alone. Ronan nodded, set the gun down, let Elena lead him back to bed. But sleep didn't come. He lay there staring at the ceiling, listening to Elena's breathing, and felt everything he'd built crumbling. The empire, the loyalty, the trust, all of it lies. At 6 a.m., his phone rang again, Luca's name on the screen. Ronan almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. Yeah, he said. Boss, we have a problem. Luca's voice sounded normal, concerned, like he wasn't a lying traitor who'd destroyed everything. What kind of problem? The Calabrians are making moves on the territory we lost to the Corsicans. Word is they think you're weak after the kidnapping. They're pushing. Let them push. Boss, I said let them. I don't care anymore. Silence. Then Luca's voice, carefully neutral. You feeling okay? You sound off. I'm fine, just tired. Want me to come out there? Check on you and Elena? The offer made Ronan's skin crawl. No, stay in Palermo. Handle the Calabrians however you think best. You sure? Positive. Okay, call if you need anything. Luca hung up. Ronan stared at the phone. Luca had sounded exactly like he always did. Loyal, concerned, trustworthy. How long had he been practicing that voice? How many years of friendship had been performance? Elena stirred beside him. Was that him? Yes. What did he want? To see if I knew, if I'd figured it out? Did he sound guilty? He sounded normal, which is worse. Elena took his hand. What are you going to do? Ronan sat up, looked at her, at this woman who'd been shot because of his world, his choices, his inability to see the betrayal right beside him. I'm going to end it, he said. All of it. The empire, the territories, everything. How? By giving Luca exactly what he wants. I don't understand. Ronan stood, started getting dressed. Luca thinks I'm weak, thinks I'm too focused on you to see what he's doing, so I'm going to prove him right. I'm going to walk away, publicly, transfer everything to him, make him the kingpin. That's insane. Maybe, but it gets us out. Once Luca has the empire, once he's in charge, he won't need to hide anymore, and we can disappear. He'll hunt us. No, he won't. Because hunting us means admitting he stole from me, means losing face. Easier to just let us go and enjoy what he took. Elena shook her head. You're giving him everything, after what he did. I'm giving him a poisoned chalice. The empire's bleeding. The territories are contested. Half our alliance is fractured during the Corsican War. He'll spend the next 5 years just trying to hold it together. And while he's drowning, Ronan smiled without humor, we'll be in New Zealand, drinking wine, growing old, forgetting Sicily exists. This feels like running. It is running from everything, but you want it out. I promised you out. This is how we get it. Elena was quiet for a long time. Then she nodded. Okay, do it. Give him the empire. Let's just go. Ronan called Luca at 8 a.m. I need you to set up a meeting, Ronan said. All the families, everyone important. What for? I'm stepping down, retiring. You're taking over. Silence. Long silence. Boss, Luca said carefully, are you serious? Completely. Elena almost died. I almost lost everything that matters. I'm done, Luca. It's all yours. But I want it done properly, public, official, no questions about succession. When? 3 days. Gives people time to get here. We'll do it at the villa. Traditional transfer of power. Another pause. What about your territories, your accounts? Everything transfers to you. I'll have Paolo draw up the paperwork, full authority. Boss, I don't know what to say. Say you'll keep the families in line. Say you'll honor the alliances I built. Say you'll make it mean something. I will. I swear. Thank you for trusting me. Ronan felt bile rise in his throat. You've earned it. 20 years of loyalty. It's time. They hung up. Elena had been listening. He bought it? Completely. Now what? Now we prepare. 3 days, then we walk away from Sicily forever. But as Ronan said it, Looking at Elena's bruised face and thinking about Marco's name being used by the man he trusted most, he knew walking away wouldn't be enough. Some betrayals couldn't be forgiven, only answered. And Luca Torino, his oldest friend, his brother in everything but blood, was about to learn that Ronan Vale's mercy had limits. The transfer ceremony would happen, but not the way Luca expected, not even close. The 3 days before the transfer ceremony moved like a funeral procession, slow, inevitable, heavy with the weight of what was coming. Ronan spent them making preparations that looked like retirement but felt like war. Paolo drew up the succession documents. 23 pages of legalese transferring every territory, every account, every asset Ronan controlled to Luca Torino. Elena watched him sign each page with hands that didn't shake, even though she could see the muscle jumping in his jaw. "You're really going through with this," she said on the second night. "All the way." "And after? When Luca has everything?" Ronan looked up from the papers spread across the farmhouse kitchen table. "After, we disappear. Like we planned." "That's all? Just walk away? What else is there?" Elena studied his face, saw something underneath the calm that scared her. "You're lying." "I'm not." "Yes, you are. I've watched you for months now. Learned how you breathe when you're scared, how your eyes go flat when you're planning violence. And right now," she touched his face, "right now you look like you did in the cannery, right before people died." Ronan caught her hand, kissed her palm. "Trust me." "I do. But I also know you. And you're not the kind of man who lets betrayal slide, especially not this kind." "Elena, just tell me the truth, please." Ronan was quiet for a long time. Outside, cicadas screamed in the heat. Inside, the weight of lies and loyalty pressed down like atmosphere before a storm. "The ceremony happens," he said finally. "Everything transfers to Luca, publicly, officially. All the families witness it. No questions about succession. And then? And then Luca discovers that every account he just inherited is empty. Every territory comes with debts I've been hiding. Every alliance includes clauses that let them walk away if leadership changes. He'll get the empire, but it'll be worthless." Elena's eyes went wide. "You're sabotaging everything." "I'm giving him exactly what he tried to steal. A pile of ashes dressed up like power. He'll know. The second he realizes, we'll already be gone. 2 hours after the ceremony, we're on a boat to Tunisia. New passports Paolo arranged. New identities. By the time Luca figures out what I did, we'll be ghosts. And the families, the other bosses, they'll think you're weak, a coward who ran. Let them think that. I don't care what Sicily thinks of me anymore." Elena looked at the documents, at Ronan's signatures transferring away 20 years of blood and violence. This is really it. The end. The end of one thing, the beginning of another. She kissed him then, hard enough that his lips split slightly, tasting like desperation and hope and fear. "Promise me," she whispered. "Promise me." The transfer ceremony was scheduled for 7 p.m. on the third day. Ronan's villa in Palermo, the same place he'd hosted 100 meetings over 2 decades. The symbolism wasn't subtle, power changing hands in the seat of power itself. The family started arriving at 6. Ronan watched from his study window as black cars filled the circular driveway. He recognized faces, some friends, some enemies, all opportunists waiting to see which way fortune would turn. Luca arrived at 6:15, flanked by 4 men Ronan didn't recognize. New security. Interesting. Luca looked up at the villa like a man seeing his future, and Ronan felt something cold settle in his chest. This man had been his brother, had stood at Marco's grave and wept, had sworn loyalty until death. All of it performance. All lies. "You ready?" Elena appeared in the doorway. She dressed carefully, simple black dress, hair pulled back, makeup covering the worst of the fading bruises. She looked beautiful and dangerous and tired. Almost. Ronan adjusted his tie. Black suit. No weapon visible. He'd left the Beretta in the safe. Where he was going, guns wouldn't help. "I'll be in the back of the room," Elena said, watching. "If anything goes wrong, nothing will go wrong. This is theater, performance. Everyone plays their part, and then we leave." "And if Luca knows?" If he figured out what you're doing, then we improvise. Elena crossed the room, took his hands. I love you, whatever happens tonight. I love you too. Even if we lose everything? We already lost everything. Now we're just getting out before it kills us. They went downstairs together. The villa's main hall had been set up for the ceremony. 60 chairs arranged in rows. A small stage at the front where Ronan would make the announcement. Guards at every exit. Luca's men, Ronan noticed. When had that happened? The families took their seats. Ronan recognized most of them. Don Carmine from Catania, wheezing into his oxygen tank. The Messina brothers, always competing. Giuliana Russo, one of the few women who'd clawed her way to power in Sicily's male-dominated underworld. Smaller operators filled the remaining chairs, lieutenants, advisors, witnesses. Luca stood near the stage, looking almost nervous. Good. Let him think this was simple. Let him believe Ronan was really that broken. At 7 exactly, Ronan took the stage. The room went quiet. Thank you for coming, Ronan said. His voice carried easily in the silence. I know some of you traveled far. I appreciate the respect you've shown by attending. Don Carmine coughed wetly. Get on with it, Vale. What's this about? It's about the future, about succession, about making sure what I built continues after I'm gone. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Luca's expression stayed neutral, but Ronan saw his hands tighten slightly. 3 years ago, my son died, Ronan continued. Since then, I've been operating on momentum, going through motions, maintaining power because I didn't know what else to do. But recent events have made me realize something. He paused. Let the silence stretch. I'm tired. Tired of the violence, tired of looking over my shoulder, tired of losing people I love to bullets meant for me. So tonight I'm stepping down, retiring, leaving Sicily. The murmurs became shouts, people standing, Don Carmine actually laughing. Sit down! Ronan's voice cracked like a whip. The room quieted. I'm not abandoning the organization. I'm passing it to someone I trust. Someone who's earned this. Someone who's been loyal for 20 years. Luca stepped forward slightly, playing his part perfectly. Luca Torino, Ronan said. Come up here. Luca mounted the stage. Looked at Ronan with an expression that might have been genuine emotion if Ronan didn't know better. You've been my right hand since we were kids running protection in Mondello, Ronan said. You've never wavered, never betrayed me. Everything I am, you helped build. Luca's eyes flickered. Just a second. But Ronan saw it. The guilt. Or maybe anticipation. Hard to tell. So tonight, in front of witnesses, I'm transferring full authority to you. Every territory, every account, every alliance, it's all yours. Paolo stepped forward with the documents. Ronan signed the first page, handed the pen to Luca. Luca hesitated. Something wrong? Ronan asked quietly. No, just, are you sure? This is everything. I'm sure. Sign. Luca signed. They moved through the documents methodically, page after page, each signature witnessed by Paolo and Don Carmine, each transfer legal and binding. When the last page was signed, Ronan handed Luca a small key. My office safe, Ronan said. Account information, contact lists, everything you need is in there. Luca took the key. Boss, Ronan, I don't know what to say. Say you'll make it mean something. Say you'll honor what we built. I will, I swear. They shook hands. Cameras flashed. The families applauded. And Ronan felt nothing except the cold certainty that this was the last time he'd ever stand in this room. The reception afterward was awkward. People who'd feared Ronan for 20 years suddenly treating him like a retired uncle, offering condolences for his loss of purpose, asking where he'd go, what he'd do. Ronan smiled and made non-committal answers. Elena stayed close, watching Luca. Luca worked the room like a politician, shaking hands, making promises, already acting like the boss. He moved to Don Carmine, spoke quietly. The old man nodded, looking satisfied. Deals were already being made, alliances shifting. At 8:30, Ronan caught Elena's eye. Time to go. They made their way toward the exit. Luca intercepted them in the hallway. Leaving already? Luca asked. Nothing left for us here, Ronan said. Where will you go? Does it matter? Luca studied him. I want you to know. I'll take care of it. The organization, your legacy. I won't let you down. Ronan almost laughed. I know you won't. They shook hands again. Luca's grip was firm, confident. The grip of a man who'd won. Then Ronan and Elena walked out of the villa for the last time. The car was waiting. Not Ronan's usual driver, someone Paolo had arranged. Anonymous, professional. They drove in silence through Palermo's night streets. Past Osteria della Notte, where this had all started. Past the cannery where Elena had almost died. Past Marco's school, leaving it all behind. The boat was waiting at a private dock, small, fast, enough to get them to Tunisia. From there, flights to Morocco, then Portugal, then New Zealand. They were 20 feet from the dock when Ronan's phone rang. Paolo. Don't answer it, Elena said. Ronan answered anyway. Yeah. Boss, Ronan, you need to know something. Paolo's voice was shaking. I just got a call from our contact at the bank. The accounts, the ones you transferred to Luca, what about them? They're not empty. Someone refilled them 2 hours ago. Every account, the full amounts. Everything you withdrew is back. Ice flooded Ronan's chest. That's impossible. I thought so too. But the deposits are real, verified. 20 million in the main operational account. 15 in the Cyprus holdings. Everything. Where did the money come from? I don't know. The transfers are clean, too clean, professional. But Ronan, whoever did this wanted Luca to get the real empire, not the hollow shell you set up. Ronan turned, looked back at the city, at his villa on the hill, lit up like a celebration. Check the debts, Ronan said. The territory obligations, the alliance clauses. Typing sounds. Then Paolo's voice, smaller. They're gone. Cancelled. Every obstacle you put in place has been removed. Luca's getting everything, the actual empire, fully functional. Who did this? I don't know. But boss, whoever they are, they knew your plan, knew exactly what you were going to do, and they countered it perfectly. Ronan hung up. Elena was watching him. What's wrong? Everything. Someone knew. Someone fixed what I broke. Who? I don't... Ronan stopped, felt realization hit like a bullet. The only person who could access those accounts fast enough was Paolo himself. The only person who knew the full plan was Paolo. The only person who could have restored everything was... Paolo, Ronan whispered. What about him? He's the third, not just Luca. Paolo too. They've been working together. Elena's face went white. Are you sure? Ronan was already running back to the car. The driver looked startled. The villa, Ronan said. Now. But sir, the boat. Now. The driver gunned it. They raced through Palermo's streets, Ronan's mind churning. Paolo had handled all the financials, had access to everything, had been perfectly positioned to steal for years. How had Ronan missed it? How had he not seen? Because he'd trusted. Because after Marco died, he'd needed people he could rely on without question, and Paolo and Luca had used that need like a weapon. They reached the villa at 9:15. The reception was still going. Ronan burst through the front door, Elena right behind him. Luca was on the stage, giving a speech. He saw Ronan and stopped mid-sentence. The room went quiet. Problem? Luca asked. Where's Paolo? Haven't seen him. Why? Ronan scanned the crowd. Paolo was gone. Had been there for the ceremony, but disappeared after. Someone want to tell me what's happening? Don Carmine wheezed. Ronan ignored him. Walked straight to Luca on the stage. The accounts, Ronan said quietly. They're full. Everything I emptied is back. Luca's expression didn't change. That's good. Means there was a misunderstanding. No misunderstanding. Someone refilled them. Someone who knew exactly what I was planning. Boss? Ronan, I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. You and Paolo both. You've been stealing from me for months, using Marco's name, feeding information to the Corsicans. All of it. Luca's face went carefully neutral. Those are serious accusations. They're facts. I have transaction records, communication logs, everything. The room was dead silent now. Every family boss watching, Camera's still rolling. Luca sighed. You couldn't just leave, could you? Couldn't just walk away and let it be clean. So you admit it. I admit I've been protecting this organization from a man too broken to lead. I admit I've been preparing for this day for 3 years, since Marco died, and you stopped caring about anything except your grief. You set up Elena. You helped the Corsicans take her. No. Luca's voice hardened. That was Santini's play. I told him it was stupid. Told him you'd burn Sicily down to get her back. But he didn't listen, and when everything went to hell, I helped you rescue her. Or did you forget that? After letting her get taken in the first place. I didn't let anything happen. I just didn't stop it. There's a difference. Elena moved to Ronan's side. You're admitting you knew. Luca looked at her. I knew Santini was planning something. Yes. I thought it would be a kidnapping for ransom. Quick. Clean. I didn't know he'd shoot you. That wasn't supposed to happen. You piece of shit, Elena said. I'm a realist. Ronan was failing. The organization needed new leadership. I've given 20 years to this, earned this, and I wasn't going to let sentiment stand in the way. Ronan felt something snap inside him. The careful control he'd maintained, the measured responses, all of it crumbling into white-hot rage. You used my son's name, Ronan said, voice shaking. You stole from me using Marco's identity. That was Paolo's idea, not mine. I told him it was too far. But you didn't stop him. No, because we needed the money to build something better than what you were running, something that wouldn't fall apart the second you got distracted by a woman. The slap came from Elena. She moved so fast Luca didn't see it coming. Her open palm cracked across his face hard enough that blood appeared at the corner of his mouth. Luca touched his lip, looked at the blood, smiled. Feel better? He asked. Not nearly enough, Elena said. Luca turned back to Ronan. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to leave. Tonight. Like you planned. The family's witnessed the transfer. It's legal. Binding. You're out. I'm in. And if you try to fight this, if you try to take it back, I'll make sure everyone knows about the accounts you tried to empty, about the sabotage, about how you tried to burn the organization rather than hand it over honorably. You think they'll believe you? They'll believe the evidence, which Paolo and I have plenty of. Luca gestured to the crowd. You're done, Ronan. Accept it. Walk away while you still can. Ronan looked at the assembled families, saw the calculation in their eyes, the opportunism. They didn't care about loyalty or betrayal. They cared about stability, about power continuing without interruption. Luca could give them that. Ronan couldn't. He'd already lost. Fine, Ronan said. We're leaving. He took Elena's hand, started to turn. Then Luca said, one more thing. Ronan stopped. The debts, Luca continued. The territory obligations you tried to saddle me with. Paolo fixed most of them. But there's one outstanding. To the 'Ndrangheta in Calabria. 2 million euros you borrowed 3 years ago to cover Marco's funeral and didn't pay back. I paid that off. No. You thought you did. But Paolo rerouted the payment. The debt is still active. And the Calabrians, well, they're not patient people. Ronan's blood went cold. What did you do? I told them you were retiring, leaving Sicily, that you'd skipped out on a debt. They were very interested, asked where you'd be going. You didn't. I gave them the dock number, the boat, your route to Tunisia. Luca checked his watch. They should be there in about 15 minutes. Elena grabbed Ronan's arm. We need to go. Now! But Luca wasn't finished. Of course, I also told them if they could convince you to stay, to honor your debts, I'd personally guarantee payment. So really, this is your choice. Run and spend the rest of your life looking over your shoulder for Calabrian assassins. Or stay. Work off the debt. Prove you're not a coward. That's not a choice. Sure it is. You've just already made it. Luca smiled. You're going to run. Because at your core, Ronan, you're not a fighter anymore. You're just a tired old man who wants out, and I'm giving you that. You're welcome. Ronan looked at Elena, saw the fear in her eyes, the understanding that their escape route had just been cut off. The Calabrians were worse than the Corsicans, more vicious, more thorough. If they went to that dock now, they'd die. Ronan, Elena whispered, what do we do? Every eye in the room was on him, waiting, watching. This was the moment, the choice that would define everything. Run and probably die. Stay and definitely lose everything. Or, Ronan turned back to Luca. You want me to honor the debt? I want you to honor something. Show these people you're not completely without spine. Fine. I'll honor it. But not the way you think. What does that mean? Ronin's hand shot out, grabbed Luca by the throat, slammed him back against the wall before any of Luca's security could react. Chaos erupted, men shouting, guns appearing, Elena screaming his name. But Ronin didn't let go, just squeezed, watched Luca's face turn red, watched his eyes bulge. You want to see what I am? Ronin said quietly. You want to test me? Luca clawed at Ronin's hand, couldn't break the grip. I've killed 73 men, Ronin continued. Personally. Not ordered. Killed. With these hands. And I've regretted most of them. But you... He squeezed harder. You I'll enjoy. Boss! One of Luca's men had a gun to Ronin's head. Let him go or I shoot. Elena moved, faster than Ronin had ever seen her move. Her hand was suddenly holding a gun. Where had she gotten it? Pointed at the guard's head. You shoot him. I shoot you, she said. Your choice. Mexican standoff. Guns everywhere. The families scrambling for cover. And in the center of it all, Ronin holding Luca like he was deciding whether to crush his windpipe. 20 years, Ronin said. 20 years of brotherhood. And you threw it away for what? Power? Money? Luca managed to gasp. For everything. You were weak. I was strong. Simple. Nothing about this is simple. Then make it simple. Kill me or let me go. But stop pretending you're still the man who built this empire. That man died with Marco. Ronin stared into Luca's eyes, saw no remorse, no regret, just ambition and certainty. He could kill him, right now, right here, in front of everyone. But then what? He'd be exactly what Luca said. A tired old man who solved everything with violence. Ronin let go. Luca collapsed, gasping, clutching his throat. You're right, Ronin said. The man who built this empire is dead, but the man who's standing here now is done playing by your rules. He turned to Don Carmine. You witnessed the transfer. It's legal. Luca owns the organization. Don Carmine nodded warily. Good. Then everyone here is his problem now. Ronin looked at the assembled families. Luca Torino is your new boss. Good luck. You'll need it. He took Elena's hand, started walking toward the exit. The Calabrians are waiting, Luca shouted behind him. You walk out that door, you're dead. Ronin didn't stop, didn't look back. Elena kept her gun up until they were through the door, in the car, moving. Where are we going? The driver asked. Anywhere but that dock, Ronin said. They drove in silence for 10 minutes. Elena finally lowered the gun. Ronin saw her hands shaking. Where did you get that? He asked. You're safe. This morning. Figured we might need insurance. You were right. So what now? If we can't take the boat... Ronin's phone rang. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer. Then decided he had nothing left to lose. Yeah. Signore Valle. The voice was old, cultured, familiar. This is Don Carmine. We need to talk. About what? About Luca Torino making a catastrophic mistake. About the Calabrians waiting at your dock. And about whether you'd be interested in solving both problems at once. Ronin looked at Elena. She was watching him, fear and hope warring in her eyes. I'm listening, Ronin said. Good. Meet me at the warehouse on Via Speranza. 1 hour. Come alone. No, Elena comes with me or I don't come at all. A pause. Then, fine. Both of you. 1 hour. Don't be late. The line went dead. Elena stared at him. Tell me you're not seriously considering this. I'm considering it. Ronin, it's obviously a trap. Probably. Then why go? Because running didn't work. Because fighting didn't work. Because we're out of options. Ronin took her hand. And because Don Carmine has been in this business 50 years. If he wants to talk, it means he sees an angle. Something we're missing. Or he wants us dead to settle things with Luca. That too. But we're dead anyway if we run. The Calabrians will hunt us. Luca will hunt us. At least this way we control when and where it happens. Elena closed her eyes. This is insane. Completely. And you're sure? No, but I'm out of good options. This is the least bad one. They drove to Villa Speranza. The warehouse was old, abandoned, exactly the kind of place where people went to die. Ronan told the driver to wait 2 blocks away. If they weren't back in 2 hours, drive to the police. The driver looked terrified but nodded. Ronan and Elena approached the warehouse, every instinct screaming trap, every nerve on fire. The door was unlocked. Inside, Don Carmine sat in a wheelchair, oxygen tank hissing. 4 men flanked him, older soldiers, the kind who'd seen everything and feared nothing. Signore Val, Don Carmine said, thank you for coming. What do you want? To make you an offer. Luca thinks he's won, thinks the families will follow him. But he's wrong. Why? Because he's arrogant, sloppy. He's already making enemies, already showing he cares more about power than respect. Don Carmine coughed wetly. I've been watching him for years, knew he was ambitious, didn't realize how far he'd go. Using your son's name, that crossed a line. So what? You want me to take him out, kill him for you? No, I want you to come back. Reclaim what's yours, lead the families properly. Ronan laughed, bitter, broken. You saw what happened tonight. I strangled him in front of everyone and still walked away. I don't have the stomach for this anymore. You have the stomach. You just lost the reason. But I'm offering you a new one. Don Carmine gestured. One of his men brought forward a file. The Calabrians. The ones waiting at your dock. I can call them off. Guarantee your safety. All I need is one thing. What? Proof that Luca betrayed the organization, that he conspired with the Corsicans, that he's not fit to lead. I already told everyone that. No one cared. Because you had no proof, just accusations. But what if you had evidence, transaction records, communications, recorded conversations? Don Carmine tapped the file. This is everything. 20 months of Luca and Paolo stealing. Every detail. Undeniable. Ronan took the file, opened it, saw pages of bank statements, wire transfers, text messages between Luca and Santini, all real, all damning. Where did you get this? Ronan asked. I've been preparing for this day. Knew Luca would eventually move. Wanted to be ready. Don Carmine smiled, teeth yellow. Give me that evidence publicly. Expose Luca. Take back the organization. And I'll guarantee the Calabrians leave you alone. Plus, he gestured again. Another man brought forward a briefcase. Opened it. Cash. A lot of cash. 5 million euros, Don Carmine said. Immediate liquidity. To rebuild what you lost. All yours if you do this. Ronan looked at the money. The file. Don Carmine's expectant face. Then at Elena. She was pale, shaking slightly, looking at him like she already knew what he was going to choose. We had a deal, she said quietly. We were leaving, getting out. I know. This pulls you back in all the way. I know that too. So what are you going to do? Ronan looked at the file in his hands, thought about Luca, about betrayal, about Marco's name being used like a weapon, thought about Elena bleeding on a concrete floor, thought about every promise he'd made, every oath to be better, every attempt to leave violence behind, and realized he couldn't, not yet, not like this. I'm sorry, he said to Elena. Then he turned to Don Carmine. I'll do it. But on my terms. Luca doesn't just lose the organization. He loses everything, his reputation, his freedom, his life. Don Carmine smiled. Now you sound like the Ronan Vale I remember. When? Tomorrow night I'll call an emergency meeting, all the families. You'll present the evidence, expose everything, and then... Don Carmine coughed. Then we'll see how Luca likes being the target instead of the hunter. They shook hands. Ronan took the file and the briefcase. Outside, Elena wouldn't look at him. You promised, she said. You promised we were done. After this. One more night, then we're done. You're lying. To me or yourself, I'm not sure. But you're lying. Elena, oh, don't. She turned to him, tears streaming. I love you, but I can't watch you do this. Can't watch you become the monster again. I'm not. Yes, you are. I see it in your eyes, the same look you had in the cannery. You're not exposing Luca for justice. You're doing it for revenge, and revenge is going to kill you. He betrayed me, used my son's memory, nearly got you killed. I know. I was there. I have the scars. Elena touched her abdomen where staples still held her together. But this, going back, one more night, one more battle, it never ends. There's always one more. This is different. It's never different. They stood there in the street outside the warehouse, everything they'd built together fracturing like glass. Come with me, Ronan said. Tomorrow. Stand beside me when I expose him. And after? When Don Carmine asks you to stay, to lead, to be the boss again? What then? I'll say no. Will you? Elena's voice broke. Because I don't think you can. I think this is who you are. And I love that man. But I can't live in his world anymore. Ronan felt his heart stop. What are you saying? I'm saying, Elena sobbed once. I'm saying I'll stay tomorrow. I'll watch you destroy Luca, but after I'm leaving, with or without you. And you'll have to choose, the Empire or me. That's not fair. Nothing about this is fair, but those are the terms, final offer. She walked to the car, got in, stared straight ahead. Ronan stood there holding 5 million euros and evidence that would destroy his oldest friend, and realized he'd just been given an impossible choice. Justice or love? Revenge or future? The man he was or the man he wanted to be? And he had less than 24 hours to decide which one would survive. Ronan didn't sleep that night. Couldn't. He sat in the farmhouse kitchen with Don Carmine's file spread across the table, reading every page until the words blurred. Transaction records showing Luca skimming profits for 18 months. Text messages between Luca and Santini planning Elena's kidnapping down to the minute. Bank statements with Marco's name, his dead son's name, used as a shell corporation identifier. Evidence. Irrefutable. Damning. Enough to destroy Luca completely. Elena was in the bedroom. He could hear her crying softly through the door she'd closed between them. The sound carved him hollow. But he didn't go to her. Didn't know what to say that wouldn't be another lie. At 4 a.m., his phone buzzed. Don Carmine. The meeting is set. 8 p.m. tomorrow. Same location as the transfer ceremony. Every family will attend. This is your moment, Signore Val. Don't waste it. I won't. And after, when Luca is exposed, will you take back what's yours? Ronan looked at the closed bedroom door. I don't know yet. You should know. Hesitation is weakness, and Sicily eats weakness alive. I'm aware. Good. See you tomorrow. The line went dead. Ronan sat there another hour, watching dawn creep across the Sicilian hills, and wondered if there was any version of tomorrow where he didn't lose everything. Elena emerged at 6, eyes red, face pale. She poured coffee without looking at him. Did you sleep? Ronan asked. No. Elena, don't. Not yet. She sat across from him, studied the file. Is it real? All of it? Every page. Where did Don Carmine get this? He's been watching Luca, preparing, knew eventually it would come to this. So he used you, used your pain to position himself for whatever comes next. Probably. And you're okay with that? Ronan met her eyes. I'm not okay with any of this, but it's what I have to work with. Elena sipped her coffee. You're really going to do it. Expose him. Destroy him. Yes. Even though it means, her voice caught, even though it means choosing revenge over us. It's not about revenge. Then what is it about? Ronan reached across the table, took her hand. She didn't pull away, but didn't squeeze back either. It's about Marco, he said quietly. About my son's name being used like a weapon. About making sure that doesn't go unanswered. Marco's dead, Ronan. He's been dead 3 years. This doesn't bring him back. I know. Then why? Because if I walk away from this, if I let Luca get away with what he did, then Marco's death meant nothing, and I can't... His voice broke. I can't live with that. Elena pulled her hand back. And you can live without me? I don't want to live without you. But you will, if that's what it takes, if that's the price of revenge. It's not... Yes, it is. Stop lying to yourself. Elena stood. I meant what I said last night. I'll be there tonight. I'll watch you burn Luca down. But after, I'm leaving. And you need to decide if you're coming with me or staying in the ashes." She walked out onto the terrace, left Ronan alone with the file and the choice that was tearing him apart. The day crawled past like broken glass. Ronan prepared methodically. Showered, shaved, put on the same suit he'd worn for the transfer ceremony. Checked the Beretta even though he wouldn't bring it. Tonight wasn't about bullets. It was about truth. Elena got ready in silence. Black dress. Hair pulled back. Makeup covering the bruises that had finally faded to shadows. She looked beautiful and distant and already gone. At 7:30 the car arrived. Same driver as before. He looked nervous seeing them. "The villa?" he asked. "The villa," Ronan confirmed. They drove through Palermo in silence. The city looked different now, smaller, like Ronan was already seeing it from a distance, from the outside. The villa was blazing with light when they arrived. More cars than the night before. Every family, every boss. Everyone who mattered in Sicily's underworld crammed into Ronan's former home to watch him either reclaim his throne or die trying. Luca was waiting inside. He saw Ronan and Elena enter and his expression went carefully neutral. "Didn't expect to see you again so soon," Luca said. "Emergency meeting, Don Carmine called it. Seemed important." "What's it about?" "You'll find out." They moved past each other without another word. Ronan felt Elena's hand find his, squeeze once, then let go. The main hall was packed. 60 chairs had become 80, people standing along the walls. Don Carmine sat front and center, oxygen tank hissing, watching everything with eyes that missed nothing. At 8 exactly, Don Carmine raised his hand. The room quieted. "Thank you all for coming on short notice," Don Carmine said. His voice carried despite the oxygen. "Last night, we witnessed a transfer of power. Ronan Vale stepping down. Luca Torino taking over. It seemed clean, final. But new information has come to light. Information that changes everything." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Luca's expression stayed neutral, but Ronan saw his jaw tighten. "Signore Val," Don Carmine continued, "has evidence that Luca Torino betrayed this organization, that he conspired with our enemies, that he used tactics beneath even our standards." Don Carmine gestured. "Ronan, present your case." Ronan stood, walked to the front, every eye on him. He held up the file. "This," he said, "is 18 months of theft, conspiracy, betrayal, all committed by the man you just made your leader." He opened the file, started reading. Transaction records, dates, amounts. Luca's name appearing again and again next to withdrawals that never appeared in the official books. 2 million over 6 months, Ronan said, skimmed from operational accounts, funneled to offshore holdings, all while Luca pretended to be loyal. Luca stood. "Those transactions are out of context. They were approved." "By who? You?" Ronan flipped pages. "Here's text messages between you and Matteo Santini, dated 3 weeks before Elena's kidnapping. You're discussing her schedule, her security gaps, exactly where and when to take her." The room erupted, people shouting, Luca's face going red. "That's fabricated," Luca yelled over the noise. "Manufactured evidence." "Then explain this." Ronan pulled out bank statements. "Marco Val, my dead son. His name is on shell corporations you and Paolo created. You used my son's identity to hide stolen money. His social security number, his birth certificate, everything." Silence. Absolute silence. Using a dead child's identity that crossed lines even criminals respected. Luca's face went white. "I didn't. Paolo did that. Not me. I told him it was too far. But you didn't stop him, just like you didn't stop Santini from taking Elena, from shooting her, from nearly killing her." "I helped rescue her, after letting her be taken," Ronan's voice cracked. "You played both sides, fed information to the Corsicans, helped them plan the kidnapping, then played hero when I came to get her back. Also, you could look loyal while stealing everything." Don Carmine raised his hand. "These are serious accusations. What proof do you have beyond documents that could be forged?" Ronan gestured to one of Don Carmine's men. The man brought forward a laptop, set it up, hit play. Video footage appeared on a screen, security camera, dated 4 months ago. Luca meeting with Santini in a parking garage, talking, laughing, shaking hands. Audio came through speakers. Santini's voice. So we're agreed? You feed us information about Vale's movements, we hit his operations, make him look weak. Luca's voice. As long as the attacks don't kill anyone important, I need him destabilized, not martyred. Santini. And the woman? Elena? Luca. She's leverage. Take her when the opportunity comes. But make it look like our security failed, not like I helped. Santini. You're a cold bastard, Torino. Luca. I'm a realist. The video ended. The room exploded, people shouting, Luca backing away from the stage, his security detail looking uncertain. Lies, Luca screamed. That's doctored. Fake. The timestamp matches bank transactions, Ronan said. The metadata is verified. This is real, Luca. You sold us out, sold Elena out. For what? Money? Power? For survival, Luca's voice went raw. You were dying, Ronan. After Marco, you stopped caring about the organization, about anything. I watched you crumble for 3 years while our enemies circled. Someone had to be strong. Someone had to prepare for what came next. So you betrayed me. I protected us. The organization survived because I made hard choices, because I did what you couldn't. You used my son's name. Marco was dead. His identity was just data. I used what was available. Ronan moved fast, covered the distance to Luca before anyone could react. His hand went around Luca's throat again, squeezing. Say his name, Ronan hissed. Say my son's name. Luca clawed at Ronan's hand, couldn't breathe, couldn't speak. Say it. Marco, Luca gasped. Marco Valle. He was 15 years old. He wanted to be a chef. He died in my place, and you used him like a tool. Ronan squeezed harder. Luca's face turned purple. His eyes bulged. Another few seconds, and Elena's hand on Ronan's shoulder. Don't, she said quietly. Don't make me watch you become this. Ronan looked at her, saw tears streaming down her face, saw fear and love and desperation. He let go. Luca collapsed, gasping, coughing, broken. Don Carmine stood, walked forward with the help of his men, looked down at Luca. The evidence is clear, Don Carmine said. Luca Torino conspired with our enemies, stole from this organization, betrayed the trust we placed in him. He looked around the room. The traditional penalty is death. Does anyone dispute this? Silence. No one defended Luca. No one spoke in his favor. 20 years of loyalty. Gone. Erased by 18 months of betrayal. Then it's decided, Don Carmine said. Luca Torino is expelled from this organization. All assets seized. His name stricken from our records. And, he looked at Ronan, his life is forfeit, to be taken by the man he wronged most. Don Carmine's men handed Ronan a gun. Luca looked up from the floor, blood on his face, terror in his eyes. Boss, he whispered, Ronan, please, 20 years. That has to count for something. Ronan stared at the gun in his hand, felt its weight, felt the expectation of 60 people watching, waiting for justice, for violence, for the old Ronan Vale to emerge and do what needed doing. He looked at Elena. She was watching him, not with judgment, just with that same quiet desperation. Choose, her eyes said. Choose who you are. Ronan looked at Luca, this man who'd been his brother, who'd stood at Marco's grave, who'd shared 20 years of blood and violence and loyalty, who'd betrayed everything. Ronan could kill him, should kill him. Every instinct screamed for it. Every rule of their world demanded it. But when he looked at Luca, broken, terrified, pathetic, he didn't see an enemy. He saw himself. 3 years ago, after Marco died, broken, lost, making terrible choices because he didn't know how to survive grief. Luca had chosen wrong, chosen ambition over loyalty, chosen power over friendship. But killing him wouldn't undo that, wouldn't bring Marco back, wouldn't heal anything. It would just add another body to the pile Ronan carried. He lowered the gun. No, Ronan said. The room erupted again, people shouting, Don Carmine looking shocked. You refuse? Don Carmine asked. I refuse. Luca's expelled. Assets seized. That's punishment enough. The families demand blood. Suts. Then the families can provide it. I'm done killing people who don't threaten me anymore. Ronan handed the gun back to Don Carmine. Luca's broken. Ruined. That's enough. He turned to the assembled bosses. Last night I transferred my empire to a traitor. Tonight, I've exposed him. That settles the debt. The organization is yours now, all of you. Divide it however you want. I'm out. You're walking away? Someone shouted. Again? I'm walking toward something, Ronan said. He looked at Elena. Something that matters more than power. He held out his hand. Elena stared at it, at him, searching his face for lies, for hesitation. She took his hand. They walked toward the exit together. Behind them, chaos erupted. The families already fighting over the power vacuum, already positioning for advantage. Ronan didn't look back. At the door, Don Carmine's voice stopped them. Vale, you're making a mistake. Men like us don't get happy endings. Ronan paused. Maybe, but I'm tired of the alternative. The Calabrians will come or won't. If they do, I'll handle it, but I'm not living my life afraid anymore. And Luca, you think mercy will protect you? No, but it might let me sleep at night. Ronan and Elena walked out into Palermo's night. The city felt different now, lighter, like a weight had lifted. The car was waiting, same driver. He looked relieved to see them. Where to? He asked. Ronan looked at Elena. Where do you want to go? Away, far away, somewhere Sicily can't reach. New Zealand? Elena smiled. First real smile in days. New Zealand. They drove to the airport. Not the private terminal Ronan usually used, the public one, where normal people flew to normal places. The tickets Paolo had arranged were still valid. 2 seats on a flight to Rome, connecting to Dubai, then Auckland. 36 hours of travel. 36 hours to become people who weren't running from anything. They made it through security, found their gate, sat in uncomfortable plastic chairs surrounded by tourists and business travelers who had no idea who they were. Elena leaned against Ronan's shoulder. Did we really just walk away from everything? Looks like it. No empire, no money, no power. We have the 5 million Don Carmine gave me. That's enough to start over. Is it weird that I'm terrified? No, I'm terrified too. Of what? Ronan thought about it. Of finding out who I am without the violence, without the empire, just me. Elena took his hand. I can tell you who you are. You're the man who spared Maria, who let Luca live, who chose me over revenge. That's who you are. That's who I want to be, not sure I'm there yet. Then we'll figure it out together, in New Zealand, far from here. They sat in silence, watching planes take off and land, and for the first time in 3 years, Ronan felt something that wasn't grief or rage or emptiness. He felt hope. Their flight boarded at midnight. They were halfway down the jetway when Ronan's phone buzzed. Luca. Text only. You should have killed me. I would have killed you. Ronan stared at the message, then blocked the number, kept walking. Elena saw. What did it say? Doesn't matter. It's over. But it wasn't over, not completely, because 2 hours into the flight, somewhere over the Mediterranean, another text arrived from an unknown number. Signore Vale, this is Don Carmine. I wanted you to know, Luca's dead, killed himself 3 hours after you left. Bullet to the head. Thought you should know. Ronan showed Elena. She read it twice. Do you believe it? That he killed himself? Does it matter? I guess not. Ronan deleted the message. Put the phone on airplane mode. Closed his eyes. Luca was dead. By his own hand or someone else's. Either way, it was over. The betrayal. The revenge. The endless cycle of violence. Over. Or so he thought. They landed in Rome for their connection. Had 4 hours to kill. Found a cafe in the terminal. Elena ordered cappuccino. Ronan got espresso that tasted like burnt rubber. They were halfway through their drinks when a man sat down at their table uninvited. 50s. Well-dressed. Familiar face, but Ronan couldn't place it. Signore Vale, the man said. I apologize for interrupting, but we need to talk. We don't need anything. Leave. I'm afraid I can't. I represent certain interests that were very invested in your organization. Ronan's hand moved toward where his gun usually sat. Found nothing. He'd left everything behind, was completely unarmed. The man smiled. Relax, I'm not here to hurt you, just to deliver a message. What message? That walking away doesn't erase debts. Your organization owed certain people certain favors. With the organization dissolved and Luca dead, those debts transfer to you. I don't owe anyone anything. Then Drangheta disagrees. 2 million euros plus interest, 3 years overdue. The Calabrians. The debt Luca had mentioned. Ronan had thought it was paid off. Apparently not. How much? Ronan asked. 4 million, with interest. Ronan thought about the 5 million in Don Carmine's briefcase, locked in a secure locker at this airport, their entire future. I'll pay it, Ronan said, but I need time to access the funds. You have 1 week. After that, interest doubles daily, and if you run... The man looked at Elena. We'll find you, and payment will be extracted in other ways. He stood, dropped a business card on the table, walked away. Elena grabbed Ronan's hand. Tell me we're not doing this. Tell me we're not paying criminals to leave us alone. We don't have a choice. We could run, change our names, disappear completely. They'll find us. You heard him. They always find people. So what? We pay them 4 million and hope they don't come back for more? Ronan picked up the business card. It had a phone number. Nothing else. We pay them, he said. Then we disappear for real. New identities, new continent. Cut all ties to Sicily, to Italy, to Europe. And you think that'll work? It has to work, because I'm not going back, not to that life, not ever. They caught their flight to Dubai. Spent the layover arranging wire transfers. Ronan called the number on the card. Verified payment. 4 million euros gone. Just like that. Leaving them with 1 million. Still enough to start over. Barely. The flight to Auckland took 18 hours. Ronan didn't sleep. Kept watching the flight path on the screen. Watching the miles between them and Sicily increase. 10,000 miles. 12,000. 15,000? Far enough that maybe the past couldn't reach them. Maybe. They landed in Auckland at dawn. New Zealand winter. Cool air. Clean. The airport smelled like rain and eucalyptus instead of salt and diesel. Immigration barely looked at their passports. Welcome to New Zealand. Enjoy your stay. They rented a car, drove south, away from the city, into countryside that looked nothing like Sicily. Green hills, sheep, winding roads that didn't hide ambush points. 2 hours south of Auckland, they found a small town. Rotorua, thermal pools, tourist traps, quiet. They rented a cottage near Lake Rotorua, month to month, furnished, private. The first night they sat on the porch watching the sunset over water that looked like glass. We made it, Elena said. Yeah. You okay? Ronan thought about it. About Luca dead. The empire dissolved, everything he'd built for 20 years gone. About owing 4 million to the Calabrians. About being 15,000 miles from home with 1 million euros and no plan. I don't know yet, he said. Ask me in a year. Elena leaned against him. I love you. I love you too. They sat there until the sun disappeared completely. Until stars emerged. Different constellations than Sicily. Southern hemisphere. Upside down. Backwards. New. The weeks that followed were strange. Quiet. Ronan had never experienced quiet like this. No phone calls, no emergencies, no violence lurking around every corner. Just mornings drinking coffee, afternoons reading, evenings walking around the lake. Elena started sketching, something she'd done as a kid, filled notebooks with drawings of the lake, the cottage. Ronan's face when he thought she wasn't watching. Ronan tried to relax, failed mostly, but slowly, very slowly, the tension in his shoulders eased. The constant vigilance faded. He stopped checking doorways, stopped planning escape routes everywhere he went, started living instead of surviving. 2 months in, Elena discovered she was pregnant. The test sat on the bathroom counter, 2 pink lines, unmistakable. Elena came out pale, shaking. Ronan, she said, we need to talk. He saw the test in her hand, felt time stop. How long? He asked. 8 weeks, maybe 9. Must have happened back in Sicily, before... She couldn't finish. Before the kidnapping, before the cannery, before everything fell apart. Ronan stared at the test, thought about Marco, about his son who died at 15, about fatherhood being something he'd lost and never expected to find again. "What do you want to do?" he asked. Elena's eyes filled with tears. "I don't know. I'm terrified. We're in a foreign country, running from our past. We have money, but not forever. And a baby." Her voice cracked. "A baby makes us vulnerable, gives the Calabrians leverage if they ever find us, gives everyone leverage. But I want this. I want us. I want a family that isn't built on violence." She grabbed his hands. "Tell me we can do this. Tell me we can give this child something better than what we had." Ronan pulled her close, felt her shaking against him. "We can do this," he said, not sure if he believed it, but needing to say it anyway. They told no one, kept it secret. Elena started showing at 4 months, small still, easy to hide under loose clothes. They moved to a smaller town, Taupo, even quieter than Rotorua, fewer tourists, more locals who minded their own business. Ronan found work, physical labor, construction, things that didn't require background checks or references. Paid cash, kept them anonymous. Elena worked part-time at a bookstore, read to their unborn child every night, stories about brave people in faraway places, stories with happy endings. At 6 months, they found out it was a girl. Elena cried. Ronan held her. They hadn't talked about names, hadn't wanted to jinx it. But that night, lying in bed with his hand on Elena's growing belly, Ronan said, "Isabella." "What?" "If we're doing this, really doing this, her name should be Isabella. My grandmother's name, before everything got complicated." Elena smiled. "Isabella Vale, I like it." "She's not going to have my name." "Why not?" "Because Vale means violence, means blood. I want her to have yours. Isabella Marrow, clean slate." Elena kissed him. "Isabella Marrow Vale. Compromise. Deal." The pregnancy was difficult. Elena's injuries from the gunshot caused complications. Scar tissue. Internal issues. The doctors in Taupo referred them to a specialist in Auckland. The specialist was blunt. "You're high risk. The damage from the shooting, there's significant scarring around the uterus. Natural birth might not be possible. We may need to do a cesarean." "Is the baby okay?" Elena asked. "So far, yes, but we'll need to monitor closely. Weekly checkups. Maybe bed rest in the 3rd trimester." They moved back to Auckland, rented a small apartment near the hospital, burned through money faster than Ronan liked. The €1,000,000 was down to 600,000, then 400, then 2. Ronan picked up more work, longer hours, exhausting jobs that paid better, anything to keep them solvent. Elena went on bed rest at 7 months. Complications. Bleeding. Terrifying nights in the hospital while doctors stabilized her. "Maybe this was a mistake," Elena said one night in her hospital bed. "Maybe we weren't supposed to have this." "Don't say that." "I'm serious. My body's broken. We're running out of money. And if the Calabrians find us, they won't." "You don't know that." Ronan took her hand. "You're right. I don't know that. But I know this. Isabella's coming, whether we're ready or not. And we're going to love her, protect her, give her everything we didn't have. That's enough." Elena squeezed his hand. "Promise?" "Promise." Isabella Marrowvale was born on a Thursday night, 8 months, emergency cesarean, 3 hours of surgery that felt like years. Ronan sat in the waiting room, covered in Elena's blood from where he'd held her hand until they wheeled her into the OR, praying to things he didn't believe in, bargaining with forces that didn't care. Please, please let them both survive. At 11:47 p.m., a doctor emerged. "Mr. Vale?" Ronan stood. "Are they?" "They're fine. Both fine. Your daughter is healthy, 6 pounds, 2 ounces, strong lungs." The doctor smiled. "Your wife is recovering, lost some blood, but she's stable. You can see them in about an hour." Ronan's legs gave out. He sat down hard, breathing like he'd run a marathon. They were alive. Elena was alive. Isabella was alive. Everything else, the money, the Calabrians, the past, none of it mattered. He saw them at 1 a.m. Elena in a recovery bed, pale but smiling. Isabella wrapped in blankets, tiny and red-faced and screaming. She's got your lungs, Elena said weakly. Ronan took his daughter carefully, held her like she might break. She was so small, so fragile, so absolutely perfect. Isabella stopped crying when he held her, looked up at him with unfocused eyes the color of storm clouds. His eyes. "Hi," he whispered. "I'm your dad, and I promise, you're going to have better than what I had. You're going to be safe, happy, loved, everything your brother never got." Isabella yawned, closed her eyes, trusted him completely, and Ronan felt something he hadn't felt since Marco died. Purpose. The first year of Isabella's life was chaos. Sleepless nights, endless diaper changes, Elena recovering slowly from the cesarean, money getting tighter. They moved to a smaller apartment, cut expenses. Ronan worked 3 jobs. Elena went back to the bookstore part-time, bringing Isabella in a carrier. It was exhausting, terrifying, beautiful. Isabella grew fast, strong. At 6 months, she was sitting up. At 9 months, trying to walk. At a year, running into everything, fearless. "She's like you," Elena said, watching Isabella try to climb furniture. "She's like you," Ronan countered. "Stubborn, reckless." "We're in trouble. Complete trouble." They laughed. Actually laughed, something they'd forgotten how to do back in Sicily. On Isabella's first birthday, they had a small party. Just them. Cake from a local bakery, 1 candle. Isabella smashed cake everywhere, laughed hysterically, made a disaster. Ronan cleaned it up while Elena put her to bed. Later, sitting on their tiny balcony, Elena said, "I haven't thought about Sicily in weeks." "Good. Is it weird that we just moved on?" "No, that's what we're supposed to do. Move on. Build something new." "Do you ever miss it? The power? The respect?" Ronan thought about it honestly. "Sometimes. But then I think about what it cost. Marco, you almost dying. Luca's betrayal, 20 years of looking over my shoulder. And I realize," he looked at Elena, "I don't miss any of it. Not compared to this. This is pretty great." "Yeah, it is." They sat there in comfortable silence, listening to Auckland's distant traffic, feeling the southern hemisphere's stars watching. Different constellations, different life. Better. The call came when Isabella was 18 months old. Unknown number, international. Ronan almost didn't answer, but something made him pick up. "Hello? Signore Vale?" The voice was unfamiliar. Italian accent. "I apologize for calling, but I thought you should know. Don Carmine passed away yesterday. Heart failure." Ronan sat down heavily. "Who is this?" "Someone who knew him, who knows your history. He asked me to contact you if anything happened, to tell you—" A pause. "To tell you the debts are settled, the Calabrians have been paid. You're clear." "How?" "Don Carmine kept money aside. Insurance. He paid what you owed plus interest. Consider it a final gift." "Why would he do that?" "Because he respected you, what you chose. Walking away instead of staying in the cycle." The voice softened. "He said you reminded him of who he used to be, before Sicily ate the best parts of him. He wanted you to make it." Ronan's throat closed. "Tell him, tell his family. Thank you." "I will." "And Signore Val?" "Stay disappeared. Sicily has forgotten you. Keep it that way." The line went dead. Ronan sat there holding his phone, feeling the weight of it lift. The Calabrians were paid. The debts settled. They were free. Actually free. Elena found him like that. "Who was it?" "Don Carmine died. But before he did, he paid off the Calabrians. We're clear." Elena's hand went to her mouth. "We're really free? We're really free." She pulled him up, kissed him, hard enough that his lips split, tasting like salt and relief and joy. "Then we're keeping this life," she said. "This quiet, messy, beautiful life. Forever." "Forever," Ronan agreed. They danced in their tiny apartment while Isabella watched from her playpen, clapping and laughing at her ridiculous parents. And for the first time in 3 years, maybe in his entire life, Ronan was happy. Not the hollow satisfaction of power, not the empty victory of violence, just happy. 5 years later, Ronan stood in their backyard watching Isabella play. She was 6 now, starting school, making friends, learning to read. She had Elena's fearlessness and Ronan's intensity, a terrifying combination. Elena came out carrying lemonade, handed him a glass. "She wants a dog," Elena said. "I know." "What do you think?" "I think dogs are loud and messy and expensive." "So that's a yes?" Ronan smiled. "That's a yes." Elena kissed his cheek. "You've gone soft. Completely soft. I love you. I love you too." They stood there watching Isabella chase butterflies, and Ronan thought about the man he used to be. The kingpin. The killer. The man who'd built an empire on blood and fear. That man was gone. Buried somewhere in Sicily with the ghosts of everything he'd lost. In his place was someone new, someone better. A father, a husband. A man who'd chosen love over revenge, life over death, hope over darkness. It hadn't been easy. The nightmares still came sometimes. Memories of Marco, of Luca, of Elena bleeding on concrete. But they came less often now, faded more quickly, replaced by better memories. Isabella's first steps, Elena's laughter, mornings drinking coffee while rain drummed on their roof. Small things, ordinary things, the things that actually mattered. "Daddy," Isabella called. "Come play." Ronan set down his lemonade, ran to his daughter, scooped her up, spun her around until she shrieked with laughter. Elena watched them, smiled, pulled out her phone, and took a picture. Later, years later, when people asked how they'd met, Elena would laugh and say it started with spilled wine and terrible timing. And Ronan would correct her. "No," he'd say, pulling her close while their daughter rolled her eyes at her ridiculous parents. "It started the moment neither of us ran away, and it ended the moment we both did." And after everything, after grief, violence, war, fear, betrayal, and impossible choices, that became the truest thing either of them had ever known. Sicily was 15,000 miles away. The past couldn't reach them anymore. They'd won by losing everything except each other. And somehow, impossibly, miraculously, that was enough. More than enough. It was everything.